Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is October 27th, 2019. My name is Eric Peters, and joining me today, Mr. Mike Tyson.
A Mario!
A Michael!
A Mario!
And filling in for not one, but two people, Mr. Zach Foley.
Wah, wah, wah. That's my only comment for today. See you later, guys. Been great.
That was his filling in, and he's done.
He has brought his comedy, and he is packing up and going home.
That's my quality commentary for today. Hello, everybody. How are you?
We're good. How are you, Zach?
I'm glad to hear.
Thanks for filling in.
Sure thing.
I am
always happy to show up and talk shit.
Tom is off trying to become Canadian.
Oh, Christ.
And
does that involve a funnel and some maple syrup?
And a couple moose.
Just let your imagination run wild after that.
And Dan was given another week to play the game with somebody sending it to him and opted not to.
I didn't send it to him in the end.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, you said you would.
Yeah, I sold it on eBay instead.
God, how can you do that?
Because I picked it up for the DS, so I didn't need it. I didn't need it.
How can you do that? For me, when I'm done with a game, it goes back in the box and it sits on the shelf for another decade.
Wrap it in plastic.
It takes a lot of willpower to not purchase a bunch of those plastic sleeves to put all my games in, because I'd go broke doing that alone.
Well, yeah, since they kicked you out of the grocery store for just buying cellophane and hair dryers all the time. I mean, that's a... What are you doing? Nothing. It's fine.
Is this a new way to cook meth? Yes.
You're at the store often enough, so...
I am. I'm surprised that they're not on to me. I have my own security detail when I go in.
I think Target's got their own satellite for you now.
It's just Ellie and Amelia with sunglasses on.
I do have to chime in from one of the last shows where they talked about that. It's absolutely true. Every time I talk to Eric, like he'll Facebook Messenger me and be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm at Target." "Oh, imagine that." You know, be 8:00 in the morning on a Sunday, and Eric's at Target.
So don't judge me. I like Target.
Too late.
I like Target. What can I say? Keeps me happy. If they went out of business, I would go through a stark depression.
You'd become a person of Walmart.
No. I don't even know.
See, I find
what's the next half step up? Because there's Walmart, and then you pay like an extra 10 to 15% to not go there by going to Target. Like, what's above that?
I don't think there is. I think it's just ritual suicide. Because I think there's not really it's just Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's true. And who wants to wait for that shit?
Well, I mean,
and that's coming from someone who lives a mile from a distribution center, and I can Prime now most everything. Yep.
My wife is now doing a big part of the grocery shopping through Amazon, through their Fast Fresh or whatever that program's called. And it I guess I was weirded out about it, but it is kind of interesting that you order it and you really do get it an hour later. At least at my house, because I live 3 miles from a distribution.
Yeah, but don't you have to buy they source it from Whole Foods, and that shit's expensive.
Some of it, yeah. But I mean, it's just a chunk of the grocery store. Again, we have 4 kids. You go through an innumerable amount of things that you don't even consider necessary in life once you have kids.
I didn't
fucking boxed macaroni and cheese. Like, who the hell thought that I would be the one buying pallets of it at a time? But I am.
Yeah, you're right. Kids will point out that you're missing something at the most inopportune time. You know, we've been out of this giant jar of Famous Dave spicy pickles for weeks. And we had dinner the other night, and Amelia wanted a pickle. So I gave her a pickle, and she's like, "No, the other one." "What other one?" She's like, "The spicy one." Like, "We don't have any." Just, okay.
Yeah, but for you, that's a sign of good things to come. You wave your little flag and to Target,
Well, no, I got to go to Costco, and then I went there, and they don't have them anymore, so another meltdown.
Yeah, I guess that parallel can be drawn too, because Costco, I definitely always feel cleaner when I walk out of a Costco, but Sam's, man, the prices are great. So.
Is Costco where we got that delicious pizza?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you met the NPC.
But you know what Sam's Club has over Costco is they have that self-checkout where you just put all your shit in your bin, and then you scan it, and you just press pay and walk out the door, and you don't need to interact with anyone.
Yep, I enjoy that.
It's great.
Well, and, I'll say it too, I was definitely one of the ones that was, when everybody was talking about raising the minimum wage, like I was like, guys, be careful, you're going to lose your jobs. And then, like having gone to a McDonald's this morning and ordered and having my order completely, totally wrong. Like I'm now one of those people that's like, oh, please, can we just replace everybody with robots?
That happened at our movie theater right around the whole time that was kicking off. And I remember walking in and be like, oh, well, here's what we get for $15 an hour. A machine.
That's right. Yep. And I'm not saying that, people who are making $8 an hour have any chance at living a life and having food and shelter and all that stuff. But yeah, that's just welcome to capitalism.
American capitalism right there.
Ask for more money, get replaced by robots.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Dark turn.
Yeah. It's a theme from one of the games I picked up this week.
Oh, speaking of kids, I think I dodged a bullet last night. We took the kids to this spooky Halloween thing at the zoo. It was like Halloween, some stupid play on words. But anyway, we bought tickets for it, and we were kind of excited to go. And we get there expecting to just kind of be, thought there'd be a line, but we walk up to it, and there's a line, I'm shitting you not, damn near half a mile long that we had to go stand in just to get in. And then this zoo is just crawling with people. And the first thing that we walk up to is this trail. They have these little spooky trails. And it has the Resident Evil Umbrella Corporation logo over it. I'm like, this seems like a good walk to take the kids on. Because she's like, are you sure? And this other 8-year-old kid comes running out. I was like, it's not scary at all, guys. And Ellie and her friend latch right onto that. And they're like, Dad, it's not scary. Let's go. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, let's go. So we walk into this, and first thing we see is this guy in the most impressive Nemi outfit ever, just scaring the shit out of people from behind a bush. Ellie fortunately wasn't too scared, but I'm like, Ellie, do you want to get your picture taken with Nemi? She's like, no thanks, and just keeps walking. It got increasingly more terrifying. By the end, there was a guy, a true amputee, in a wheelchair screaming at his leg, and another guy didn't have an arm, and he's sitting there screaming. Like, definitely not appropriate for children.
Yeah,
but we dodged a bullet because there was no nighttime terrors last night, and we just played it off as like, guys, that was really funny, wasn't it? So I may have actually just overridden a crucial part of their hard drive in their brain. Don't be scared of something, laugh at it.
He says while pouring NyQuil into the milk.
Sleep.
Yeah, I lived in Florida for a considerable amount of time, so it was pretty common for us to go to things like Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, which is a big decked out thing. And I always sort of marveled at parents who brought like 6 and 7-year-olds to that and just looked at them like, dude, this is scary for me. Yeah. I'm a 25-year-old asshole. I'm not sure how your kids are going to not get through the next 5 years without emotional support. Because those events, they really go all out. And, like have guys jump out of trees with chainsaws and, no blades on them. But, they're paid to scare you.
I was reading about this. This has kind of been on the news recently, but I was reading about this haunted house that is apparently so terrifying that you have to sign a waiver and pass both a physical and a psychological exam before they'll let you go through it. And there's a $20,000 prize if you can get through it, and nobody has gotten through it. And there's a 24,000 person wait list.
Yeah. Well, Jesus. And it's like a 10-hour event too.
Yeah. I looked at them like, I bet I could do it. Like, no, probably not.
Yeah.
I'd be curious just to see what it's like.
That's in Huntsville. My mom lives. It's about 4 hours away from here, and I was really genuinely curious about it until I saw what you had to go through for it. Like, yes, you have to pass a psychological exam. Like, how much am I paying to get into this thing again?
Yeah, if I'm going to pay to have a psychological exam, you better damn well believe I am not going to tap out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you could just scare me equally with having my wife walk up to me with like a positive pregnancy test. Like, that would be enough.
That would be the most terrifying thing in the world. Yeah, when you are definitively done having children, the thought of having another is just crippling.
Yep.
It's like I definitely don't want a third. Definitely not. Like we've crested the point where it would be, like a year ago it would have been inconvenient. A year and a half ago it would have been inconvenient. It's like, yeah, but she's still really close in age to Amelia. But now it's like, okay, Amelia's almost out of this really rough stage, and like, okay, we can leave you alone in a room for a couple hours and you'll be fine. To then just have to start over a third time, I couldn't do it.
Also, you paid for Snipsmith, so
yeah, and that's what's even more terrifying.
Yeah,
it's like
there's additional questions.
It's like I definitely want to trust Snipmiss, but I also have had one surgery in my life where I fell into the 1% of people where something would go wrong. So I don't know. I'm not going to push my luck.
Brain surgery left some impressions, didn't it?
Definitely did. That lobotomy didn't go very well.
Yeah, but making kids is the funnest part of the whole process. You don't want to give that up. So YOLO,
I can't believe you've just said YOLO.
Yeah, that's right. I did. I'm a dad. I can get away with fucking anything. I have the whitest sneakers and the bluest jeans.
Are they New Balance?
No, I do have Adidas.
Oh,
but they are gleaming. They are gleaming white. Like when they get even a bit scuffed, like I take a toothbrush to them. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have to pair this with a brown belt and a horizontal shred polo shirt.
You have to upgrade to the New Balance shoes.
I know. I'm not quite there yet.
I just can't wait for my kids to get older and start having friends come over more often without their parents and just be that really embarrassing dad.
Yep. I got to start working on my mustache soon.
Oh, yeah. Just the
like the one that comes over the lip.
Oh, the cock duster.
Yeah, the old cookie duster. Yeah. The lip sweater.
Yep.
Lip sweater.
Yeah, it's your lip sweater.
Stop trimming up my eyebrows. I'm telling you, I'm ready.
Make sure that ear hair grows out real nice and good.
Yeah. And that it comes in thick enough that it turns the inner lobe of my ear gray. When did that start happening?
I actually have a buddy who woke up one morning because somehow his eyebrow hair ended up so long. He woke up with his eyebrow hair entangled into his eyelashes.
That's right. Sorry. Back.
Oh, man. No, you gotta really get down the whole, they're sitting in the living room and you walk in and you just kind of have to like stop and pause for a second and then just let out this really wretched belch and be like, oh, God, that feels better, and just walk away.
You've got a list of these ready, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. My dad did it to me.
Like the combo Jack Daniels lemonade and hot dog belch. Like, yeah. That's the one.
And then just like,
oh, Dad, onions and relish today? What the hell?
Lunch was not better the second time around today.
I'm already half there because I already play golf games, and my kids are like, why do you have all this cool shit and you play video game golf? I'm like, because I'm a dad. I mean,
by the way, don't touch anything on this shelf.
Yeah, not a thing. Not all of this is sacrosanct. One day, none of this will be yours.
One day, this will be auctioned off to pay for my burial lot.
Exactly.
Actually, no. I want to be like
I thought I have it all buried with you.
I want to be like a pharaoh and have all my shit buried with me.
Yeah.
All wrapped in plastic around you,
so there's no chance of grave robbing.
Oh yeah.
Like I think what I want you to do is melt down everything and just entomb my carcass with this video game shell, and then seal it somehow, and then I'll be happy.
No, I think what would be the best. First of all, I want to be fully sealed in Saran wrap or whatever, and then like hermetically sealed, and then put me on like a concrete slab. Pile up all my shit around me, but then pour concrete over fucking everything. So even if you do want to grave rob me, like you're going to have to be jackhammering that shit out and you're going to break it anyway.
Why don't you go the frozen carbonite route?
Yeah, but then somebody could thaw me out later.
I suppose he'd still be dead.
I
assume you're dying first.
Either that or let's go the Viking route and just make a pyre out of all of my games and light me on fire, because I actually don't want to be buried.
Yeah.
Although, that doesn't sound good for the environment, but on plastic.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm dead.
You watch
Yeah, fuck the planet for the future generations, Eric.
That's right.
Actually,
I can see that happening. Like they setting me on the Viking boat and setting like me and my games on fire, and like Eric trying to swim out after it. Like, no,
magical chase.
He must have really loved that guy. No, he's got a sealed copy of
some fucking
TurboGrafx.
Actually, you know what would be really cool? I want to be cremated and then pressed into a disc and have a game made on me and then auction it off.
I hesitate to ask, what game would you like to be part of, Eric?
Murder on the Eurasia Express.
Right. Fist and Fireman 19.
Night shift nurses.
One of those backdoor sluts.
No, actually, that's a legitimately good question, Zach. What game would you press yourself onto?
Oh, for me, it's got to be a Castlevania game. I'm sorry. I'm an easy target, though.
Yeah, that is an easy target. I don't know if there'd be enough of me to press into all the discs of Final Fantasy VIII.
Well, but there's got to be enough of you to press into the shitty disc-based Mega Man game. So,
well, you could always just go onto the remastered. Oh no, it's a fucking digital only, isn't it? Bollocks.
No. It's coming out. It's coming out physical in December.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Final Fantasy VIII, Zach,
yes.
Last time me and you were on a show together, you were talking about the direction on it not being completely circular, and you said that I'd eventually notice. I finally noticed. It's when I got to the prison. You know, when you're going around the prison.
Yep.
This too. Yeah, I noticed then. Yeah, it's fucking horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, I ran into that on PC, and it really, I don't think I made it as far as the prison with that. But I had two things happen to me. One was there was one NPC, and I don't remember where it was, but it took me like 5 minutes to up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, just to get in front of him.
Oh, almost.
And I think that was the same one where I just came around the corner and the soundtrack stopped playing and there was fucking MIDI music in the background.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was like, what is this? Yeah.
That happened to me. I was, the bits where the two gardens are facing across each other, and it plays the landing from the Dalek mission at the beginning. Yeah, it randomly turned into some MIDI version of it. It completely ruined the epicness of the moment.
Now, what needs to happen to complete this joke is when it turns to the MIDI music, it just needs to go.
I'm afraid I've actually ruined some aspects of Final Fantasy VIII for myself with that remaster because I just can't play it with not 3x on.
Yeah, same. It's the moments where I turn it off and I'm like, man, this is slow.
Squall's just just running in place. Really, just get to where you're going, dude. But I don't know.
Exactly
the more I play on that remaster, I really am not impressed with a lot of aspects of it. And I think the main bothering fact for me is the menu running at a different speed. It just kills it.
Yeah.
I mean, the game itself is still phenomenal, but when you're in combat and you can't quickly select through things, I don't know. It's annoying.
I'm still enjoying it. It's being really nice to revisit. I'm playing it in between, because obviously I play my Switch a lot at work. I'm playing it in between other stuff. Like if there's not anything I particularly want to play at the time, I just go.
It's
I've
great
just got the Ragnarok, so I'm doing all the sort of extra bits.
It's great to blitz through it though. You can get through a lot of other shit that you know when you want to play that lengthy RPG, you don't want to dump all that time into. You just all right, 3x, here we go, or turn the battles off and just go enjoy the story.
Away we go. Hot pickle.
Yeah. It's funny too because that always sort of begs the question to me. There are games that I play that are absolutely just I would describe them as majestic, right? They're awe-inspiring.
Mega Man 2, I know.
I know. And I walk away from those games and I'm like, man, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play that again someday. And I'm just going to have the same experience. And it never quite happens because you can never experience something again for the first time. I wonder with Final Fantasy VIII, if it suffers from The Witcher. Because I love The Witcher 3. I beat the shit out of that game on PlayStation 4. And I have tried to go back and play it on Xbox now that I have the prettier version of it. And I've even tried it on PC, and it's just a boredom simulator. I cannot get past how in-depth and involved getting back into that game really is.
I think
you're not picking it up on Switch then.
I thought about it and I was like, I'd really like to see it on Switch, and I can go look at videos and all that stuff, but I'm like, I'll never finish it. I'll never go back.
See, I think that's the
again.
problem, though, is that the first time you jump into a game that large, you have no concept of how in depth or how big it's going to be. So when you beat it and you want to go back to it, you're like, oh my god, I remember dumping all this time into it. But
go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you see the video of the guys who modded the Witcher on Switch to replicate PC graphics?
No.
Oh my god,
Lord!
It was just melting. It was melting the internal components of that Switch. They broke open the UI or something like that. Didn't read too much into it, but they said, "Yeah, this is damn near PC quality graphics running on the Switch." And they're like, "We don't want to know what's happening to this chipboard inside."
Like, the thing is, they've done. Don't get me wrong. It obviously doesn't look as good as the other versions, but man, they've got that running well on there.
How the hell did they pack that onto a little cart?
God knows, but they supposedly, it looks a bit shit when it's docked, but in handheld, apparently it's completely serviceable. I've never played The Witcher. I might get around to it one day now. It's portable, but still.
And I don't want to discourage anybody from playing The Witcher. The Witcher is an incredible game. I would call it an accomplishment, probably further beyond even what was done with Red Dead, just in terms of graphics and what they did with the story. In fact, it's a lot more fun to play. Sorry, Tom.
I would call it The Witcher 3.
Yeah. But it was... But again, I just can't go back and play it again. I know. But I just can't go back and play it again. I've tried. It just, there's too much else on my list that I really want to get to.
You're like that with The Last of Us, Eric, can't you? You can't play The Last of Us again.
No, that's because I told myself I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to ruin my experience with that game. Yeah, I may have forgotten some of the finer plot points, but I still remember the emotion and the feelings surrounding that game, and I don't want to overwrite that. Like, as soon as that the credits rolled, that's the only game I've definitively said I never want to play this again for a good reason. So, and I'm going to stand to it.
Yeah, that game is an emotional roller coaster, and it would be hard to go back and play it again, and knowing what you know.
I think I want to. Before the
now you have extra time.
Yeah, now I have extra time.
And the part 2's been delayed.
Oh man, I am happy about that delay because I think it came out either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after the Final Fantasy VII remake originally, and I was like, ooh, yeah. I am not going to get to play both of those.
I'm right back where I am with Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn. Oh god, what now?
There was something else really high profile that recently got pushed from November to March. Yeah, Doom Eternal got pushed.
Yeah, it's now released on the same day as Animal Crossing. But the thing is, that is like huge loss for Stadia, that being delayed, because that was going to be their kind of
Stadia.
This is it working.
The Founders Edition comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
on a first come first serve basis. If you pre-ordered, you won't, and you were one of the later ones to pre-order it, you won't necessarily get it on day one.
I am curious as to how that's going to play out.
I'm going to try it with an Xbox controller and see. I'll subscribe for a month, but I have no real need to buy the hardware associated with it.
Well, you don't even need to subscribe. You can just buy a game, can't you?
Well, but it requires a subscription fee. Doesn't it?
No. So basically, if you only want it as if you only get 1080p, admittedly, but Stadia basically the messaging on it is really, really unclear for most part. But
fancy that.
Basically, you do not actually need to pay any kind of subscription fee or anything like that to use Stadia. You literally just can make an account and then buy the games a la carte. There is a subscription service, which means that you do get some free games, and you also get 4K and Dolby surround sound and all that bollocks as well. But you don't actually have to pay a subscription for Stadia to use their standard thing. Once it eventually comes out anyway, like the Founders guy, the Founders guys obviously
I will probably subscribe for a month just to experience it.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of see how much data it really chows through when you're doing 4K.
Yeah, because I imagine that's pretty... I can't imagine it's a light amount of data. Again, and I always use the Netflix paradigm of a full movie at, HD resolution, which is 1080p on Netflix, chews up about 300 meg, 500 if it's a really long movie. A 4K movie, on the other hand, chews up like 3 times that amount. So
yeah, and that's 2 hours.
What does that look like over the course of playing a game? Yeah.
Imagine if you're playing a 60-hour game.
Yeah.
Yeesh. Sucks for you with your data cap, Eric.
Yeah, no shit. I almost broke it again last month.
Yeah, we were talking about that like yesterday, weren't we?
Yeah, I got a notification, an email. It's like, you're at 85% full. And by the time I checked on the email, I'm like, you're at 93% full. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Good thing my data reset the next day. So I went and
Sorry, kids, no Coco Melon for you.
No Netflix, but Daddy, read a book.
I will probably, when Stadia comes out for everybody, not just the founders, I'll buy a cheap game just to give it a go and see how it works. But I won't be subscribing because my hope is that, what I think is going to happen is that xCloud is going to fucking kill it compared to Stadia. And also, they've got the benefit of having Game Pass as well, so yeah, I will probably end up using that instead if I'm going to use a streaming service. But I'm planning on getting the next consoles anyway. If I can afford it, I might get both again.
I mean, depending on the quality and what they're able to do, honestly, NVIDIA Game Stream is looking like a really good option. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
So NVIDIA Game Stream is just what it sounds like. You're streaming off a server and games, blah, blah. It's very much like the other two. The difference is it hooks to your Steam account. So you don't pay for games that you're working on.
Interesting.
And I know Android just got a big release, so it's compatible with Android phones and tablets, all of them. So, everybody's getting into this space, which means good things for consumers. It means that prices can drop across the board for all three, or one of them will get.
There is a beta for xCloud happening at the moment, or it's about to happen, but it's on Android only, and I'm an iPhone user, so I can't get involved, unfortunately.
I'd like to try it out
because I would have liked to try that.
The last time I looked at the xCloud stuff, they were really limiting it to like phones and tablets, and it was stuck at 720p, which again doesn't make sense for me. That puts it into PlayStation Now territory. Which, hey, now that that's more affordable in price, that's not a terrible option either.
Nah, and they've actually put some. They're only on temporarily, but they've put some high-profile games on there now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like you can play God of War.
I am going to sign up for this.
For what?
xCloud beta.
Well, have you've got an iPhone though, haven't you?
Yeah, but I have other Android devices.
Ah, okay.
I have like 3 Android phones just sitting around doing dick all.
Yeah, you give it a whirl. Don't be shy. Give it a try.
I'll have to look it up later because I can't focus.
Yes.
Can't focus.
Squirrel.
Yeah,
but no, I'm hoping that xCloud works because if I can combine xCloud and Game Pass together, I am game.
Pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all good options. I'm never going to stop buying physical games as long as they keep making them. I just believe in owning physical games. It's just
the next step in conditioning the market for an all digital future.
Yeah.
But you know what?
And like I said, it's the caveats that come with that are the big hang up for me.
Yeah, the licensing and all of that. So, people always say, why do you care so much about physical copies? Look at PC. I mean, everybody's just universally fine with PC for all intents and purposes being purely digital.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I bought it. Well, actually, I can tell you the last time.
As long as it's all on one launcher and you don't dare use another launcher. Ooh.
I bought Civ 6 physical copy on PC because Target at the time was having a buy 2 get 1 free. So I traipsed all over the fucking city trying to find a physical copy of Civ 6 at a Target. And I found one.
6.
Yes.
Well, I mean, physical PC games are even getting hard to find now. Do they even still sell them at GameStop anymore?
I don't think they sell them at GameStop, but they still sell them at Target, Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart, Target. That's where I bought the last couple physical games I bought there.
But again,
so
that is just downloading something.
Yeah. What about Game, Mike? Did they sell PC games?
Nope. They do not.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. It works. I've held long time to Steam, and it's not because I think Steam is great. I think Steam is a fine platform, and with the Steambox streaming stuff, like it works fine. But I stick there because I have thousands of games on Steam. And I don't need multiple services and multiple passwords. Like the thing that annoys me by Stadia is already, like just from hearing that, like, oh good, I get to have another Google account that's a Stadia account. And I have one for Google Drive, and I have 4 different Gmail accounts. Like we got to get to a single sign-on at some point to make some of this stuff start making sense.
We just need like an internet overlord.
Like the Holy Tome of Zach's password.
We just need an internet overlord that buys everything and just consolidates it all into one account.
Yeah. But I've said that for years about movie streaming. Like, if you wanted to make $1 billion and probably get bought up and shut down almost immediately, come up with an app that just is video streaming. You type in a movie and it just delivers a movie to you. It doesn't care about if it comes from Amazon Prime or Netflix or Vudu or Hulu or wherever. It just, you go look for something and there it is.
As long as you have that account tied to that app.
Yeah, as long as you have the account tied to that. And Chromecast kind of does that, but it doesn't have nearly enough services. Because like when I say to my, and I can't say it because it'll start queuing stuff across my house, but you know, when I give the Google command and I say, hey, play this, as long as it's on one of my services, it just kind of at random picks from where it pulls from it, whether it be YouTube or Google Play Movies or Hulu, or I think it's got HBO and Netflix tied to it too.
Pornhub.
If you do it on the if you do it on the Echo,
4chan.
Oh, no.
Cast tentacle porn. Oh, there it is. All the tentacle porn you'd ever need.
if you do it on the Amazon devices, it obviously tries to pull from Amazon first.
Yeah, sure. Well, and that makes sense. And I mean, it's probably got some of that logic built into Google, but like, I kind of want to get to the point where I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
The fact that we have multiple apps across every TV in the house, and that every time I just bought my kids a TV for their playroom, which I want to talk about in a second. You know, I'm going to have to go put like 30 different app sign-in and passwords. And yeah, I get it. First world problems. But I've already got enough first world living problems that I think I get to complain about that one.
Got 3,000 square feet of carpet I got to vacuum.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the only reason I wanted to talk about the TV was because I'd like to call out to anybody who complains now about how technology is ruining our lives, did not grow up in my era, where I remember like we had one TV in my house, and the biggest size TV we had in my house growing up was like a 25-inch TV, and we thought that was monstrous. I just bought my kids a 65-inch 4K HDR TV for $400.
Jesus.
And that is just remarkable to me. And it's a throwaway TV. You know, it's not the best quality or anything like that. But the fact that you can go out and do that right now is just absolutely ridiculous.
When I was a freshman in high school, I bought a 27-inch Daewoo CRT, that fucking thing sitting right behind me, for $700 or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
And I took that to college with me, and I had the largest TV that anybody knew of in the dorms.
Yep.
Just stupid. Everybody else is bringing their little 13, 15, 17-inch color TVs. I'm like, fuckers, come over here and play Halo 2 4-player split screen. I'll wreck you.
We're gonna do it properly. This is America.
So,
but if we're doing a tournament, goddamn it, go get your own TV. I need all 27 inches of this.
All 27 inches of 320i
of foreign off-brand CRT,
hiding all the flaws in every game's graphics. Yep. But I'm not one of those people that believes that like technology has moved too fast and it's endangering us. It's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And just again, to have access to that. I mean, my wife and I are talking about buying a new TV for our room because the one in our bedroom is actually tiny compared to what we now have for the kids. And it's old. I think we've had it since we got married 10 years ago. And now you can literally buy a picture that looks like a frame that you hang on the wall.
Yeah, the LG wallpaper TV.
Or the Samsung frame.
Yeah.
Which is literally built into a picture frame.
My boss bought one of those for his house. It's so cool. I walked in and I'm like, that's a cool piece of art. He's like, nah, it's a TV. I'm like, oh, fucking A. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. And they're all so cheap. I mean, yeah, you can spend money on high-end displays. And certainly as you get into, like the QLEDs and you get into, OLEDs, and now, everybody's talking about 8K, and that's still ridiculous to me.
10K is already out there.
Oh, God. You find me even a high-end PC with quad SLI graphics that can handle even 8K at 20 frames a second, and I will be blown away.
I will say that if you are in the market for getting a TV that you want to use as your primary source of gaming entertainment, and you want it to be high quality, and you're doing anything above 60-inch, and you want to fully take advantage of HDR, you have to have full array backlighting. And for that, easily double your cost.
Yeah.
Because if you get side lit on something that large, you're going to be highly disappointed. You'll be like, well, what the fuck's the big deal about HDR? Well, because you're trying to light the center of a screen 30 inches away with a thin 2mm light.
Yeah, mine. I've got a 55-inch, and mine's edge lit, and it's perfectly serviceable. But I can see, especially on very So if it's a mainly dark screen, like it's completely black with like something in the middle, you can see where the edge lighting is coming from.
Yep.
And if the TV was any bigger, it would be a problem. But mine's great. I love my panel, but it's, if it was any bigger with that setup, it wouldn't be great.
Yeah, up to 50, you're fine. I still think you should get the full array backlit with dimmable zoning. But, obviously with that, you add dimmable zoning on there and you're adding another 25% to the cost. So,
yeah, I mean, I think kind of the idea of just going and buying LCDs is kind of passe now. If you want quality, I think you really have to start at the LED here.
Yeah. Yep.
And go up from there. Because you can get super expensive with TVs that are only in the 55 and 60-inch range, which is now relatively small, and that blows my mind. But I look at those and I'm like, yeah, but you can absolutely see the quality differences.
The only reason I have the TV that I have in my living room is because I took advantage of a stupid opportunity. So when it came out, it was a $9,000 TV when it came out. Through work, one of my buddies bought it for $4,700, and then a year later turned it around to me for $1,000. Like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yep.
I'll do that.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, and there's deals to be had out there. I just, like I said, I occasionally hear somebody, and it's usually the boomer crowd, but they are always like, this technology, we didn't grow up with screens and this and that. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. Like, I like to be able to see my TV from across the room that I'm in.
And I think, that argument is a little flawed in that, we were fine without that. Yeah, but we would have utilized that same shit if we were a kid. Trying to raise your kids like you were raised is fundamentally wrong, because it's a different era. It's a different generation. And we're seeing that in schools right now. There's this big push to get as much technology in the classroom as possible. But if you look at what's happening in Silicon Valley, all of these tech giants are sending their kids to schools that are fundamental schools with no technology, because they see the damage that technology is having on kids when provided to them in that length of time.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, you have to balance it, right? Because your kids can't not... We struggled with it because we bought kids tablets for the first time last year. And before that, we just kind of let them use ours. But we wanted them to have tablets because, number one, they were a requirement for some school stuff. But number two, you want your kids to be tech literate.
Yeah.
And have it be the second language that it isn't for me. I'm a Gen Xer. I didn't get my first real home computer set up until I was probably 15 years old. And I was born in the 70s. What do you want? But it's a learned vocabulary for me, where it's sort of innate to them.
Well, look at what's being offered in schools right now. When I was in middle school and in high school, okay, take a second language. You can do French, you can do German. In high school, they even offered Latin. Like, okay, that's a great choice if you're going to be a doctor, but I'm not. But now they're still offering that stuff, but the second language truly is coding. If you can code, it doesn't matter what language, Ruby or Python or HTML5 or whatever, you can write your ticket. I mean, that is what you need to know going forward.
Yep.
So get off my lawn.
It's yeah. I still say that the height of all civilization was where they had free GameCube games at McDonald's. But, we're on the downward slide, but it'll be a lovely ride all the way down,
So one of the pieces of feedback that we got from that huge survey that we put out, which is still up if you want to fill it out for us. It's been really neat to go through and read some of that stuff. But we asked for a couple ideas for new segments. And, well, I don't really want to call it a segment. We do usually talk about it. People said, we want to know what games you've picked up since the previous show. Because, well, especially with Zach being on here, we buy a lot of games a lot of the time. And we don't always really...
It's a good job Zach is here, because I don't really pick that many of them that often. So if it was just me and you...
Yeah, but you play Game Pass. It's the same thing, damn it.
That is true.
But no, I actually picked up a game that I want to talk about for just a couple minutes. I mean, we don't need to go through everything. But as you know, I am slowly punishing myself with the goal of completing a working designs collection, which... Mm-hmm. I'm too far into it to abandon it now. I mean, I'm about 50% of the way, and I just got to keep going. But I was early for a meeting and saw that I was only a couple miles away from a store that I don't get to go to very often, and walked in and saw this big, colorful PS1 game in the case. I'm like, what the fuck is it? Oh, it's working designs. Wow, I got to see that. And I just checked. I'm like, I know I don't have that game. It was $80, which is obviously outside of my impulse range. So I checked it on price charting. The dude had it like $35 above what they had it listed as. Like, okay, I generally will go about 10% higher than that just to support, your brick and mortar costs and all of that. So I brought it up to him and he's like, yeah, I'll do it for $50. Take my money, go. But it was this working design game called Silhouette Mirage, which I had not heard of before. But man, what a fucking weird game. Have you ever watched any gameplay?
It's a science game, yeah.
It's done under the Spaz title, which I don't know why they had that. But Vey on Sega Saturn or Sega CD, I think, was also done under the Spaz title. But it's a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up, shoot 'em up platformer. The art style is
Mirage, did you say?
Yeah, the art style is so weirdly inconsistent. So you are this little wizard type girl who has a multicolored dress on. The left side is red, right side is blue. And when you're walking to the right side of the screen, you are red and you shoot out red attacks, which are used against the red enemies. But if a blue person comes towards you, then you have to use some of your other skills to either get behind them, spin them around, shoot them with blue, spin yourself around, or you can transform and like flip the colors of your dress. But if you look at the art style on it, it's so wildly inconsistent. So you have these weird enemies in the first couple levels that just look like really poorly drawn anime women, really flat single textures. It's just a strange game that I don't ever foresee wanting to play ever again. I played about 2 or 3 hours of it, went, this game's real bad.
Yeah, this looks mental. I'm just looking at some gameplay footage of it now. It was released on Saturn as well, Eric.
Don't tell me that. No, but I don't think it was done under Working Designs. I mean, it got really good reviews. It's just, yeah.
In fact, it was only released in Japan on the Saturn.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's only it's part of that era of games that's it's a specialized kind of shmup / beat 'em up called cute 'em ups.
Yes.
And it is really odd and bizarre, but all cute 'em ups is bizarre. Hey, another really good cute 'em up? Magical Chase. It's of that same genre.
Oh yeah, this does look like the girl from Magical Chase.
Yeah. Magical Chase is definitely more of a shmup, but it's of that same just oddball out there weird design, and it's an interesting little game.
Here, I'm going to send you a link to these enemies that I was talking about that are really fucking weird. Those things, like everything is really cool, stylized. It's got great sprites. I mean, you fight these giant mech robots, and then these little fucking things pop up, and they're just like, why? Why is that there? Is it photoshopped in? It looks like shit. But this is single-handedly the most pristine video game I own. I mean, Working Designs always has that really cool back. Like, you can tell it's a Working Designs game where you've got the pictures are on the outside that are bordered with gold, and it looks like it's actual gold foil on there, and it's really high quality. But over time, they start to fade. Like, this one seems like they just pulled it out of a dark chest and just set it on the shelf. It's perfect.
Like the Lunar games were like that, right?
Yeah. Like, look at the backs of any of them. Like Alundra, they're all consistent in how they do it. It's terrible design. It looks like shit, but it's really unique and really neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my big find.
Man, I got to tell you, going for a full collection of working games design is just like taking off your clothes and running backwards naked through a cornfield. That is going to be expensive and painful.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm doing myself a favor by waiting to get the Sega CD, Sega Saturn games until the end, or if I should just pull the trigger on them now, or if I should intersperse them.
So when would you like to be poor? At the end of your life or now? They're not cheap.
Preferably never. Yeah, there's a couple that are like $600.
Yeah.
So what I'm waiting for is,
you're in the snatcher camp now, bud.
What I'm waiting for is one of those to show up at a local game store where, because Christy's a teacher, we get 20% off. Like, oh, $600, 20% off. Thank you.
Yeah.
But they'll probably put some bullshit caveat on there, like, you can't use a discount on this one.
Yeah, I got lucky. I walked into a Second and Charles in Huntsville when I was over visiting my mom, and I picked up a bunch of. It was just one of those days where somebody came in and dropped a ton of Japanese games. So I got like Dark Messiah and a whole bunch of Japanese Dreamcast games. And if you're going to wait for that kind of opportunity, you better be there at 8 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night, because collectors will absolutely go through and snatch that shit up fast.
A couple of Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh
no, I was just going to say I'm going for a full Ys collection.
Oh dear.
And I think I've got 4 games left.
Oh dear.
And I don't buy them without boxes and instructions and all that stuff. But I saw them at a Second and Charles, and they were just overpriced, even for Second and Charles. So I thought, like, all right, well, let me walk around and think about it. And by the time I got back, they were already gone.
Ugh.
So get ready for that.
I got, let's see, I picked up on Mike's recommendation a copy of Mario 3D World, finally.
Yes,
dude.
Finally.
Oh, yeah.
I love that game so much.
What a fucking game.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm blown away it's not on Switch.
Me
They're
too.
going to have to, right? Surely.
So I was 100% convinced I'd never touched this game, because I think I would have remembered Cat Mario. And I fired it up, put it on my Wii, and I had a game save from January 1st of 2016. Like, I've never owned this game. I've never rented this game. And I know nobody else who owned a Wii U to borrow this game from. Apparently I played it, but I only had like 2 green stars on it. So if I did play it, I didn't play it.
She did the first level.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome and abandoned it. But I'm
Was it your packing game?
No, my packing game.
There was a Wii U.
My packing game was Mario Kart.
Interesting. I have a Wii U Deluxe set, and I think that came with new. Oh, I can see the box. Yeah, it came with new Super Mario Brothers.
Is it the white one that only had 8 gig?
No, I bought the one that came out later with a different box art. It was a 32.
Yep, that's what I have.
But I remember being really mad because I couldn't find Mario 3D World for a long time because Wii U just didn't proliferate well.
Yeah, it's not terribly hard to find anymore. It's just the pricing is really inconsistent. I think I finally picked it up for $8, but everywhere else it was like 20, 25.
Wii U games over here has suddenly dropped in price, and I'm not sure why.
I would snatch those up.
Even secondhand. So CEX, the main kind of secondhand store across the country here, I keep picking up random Wii U games just because they go cheap. So I picked up. I actually want to have a quick talk about this. I picked up Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on the Wii U because obviously it's come out. It's on Switch and it's ridiculously overpriced on Switch. Like they're charging more for it on Switch than it was full price on the Wii U. But everywhere I've ever seen it, even on Wii U, it was, I don't know, about 20 quid. And randomly, I found it in CEX for £10. I was like, yes, having that. And I've had a look, and I've seen it since. It's randomly gone back up to £12, which still isn't a massive jump up, but I don't know why it was at £10.
I'll tell you the one game
Man, what a game. Like, what? Like,
yeah.
Amazing 2D platformer. Like, if you only own a Switch and you see this cheap, pick it up because it is just absolutely cracking. It's so good. But
I own the other Donkey Kong, the other one that's not Tropical Freeze on Wii, and it was excellent.
Is that the one where you ride the
Returns?
Yeah, that one was great.
Yeah.
The silhouette
levels.
levels.
Wii, isn't it? Yeah. But I also randomly picked up Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Wii U for £5 each.
Oh,
recently.
shit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, they were still expensive as well.
So,
and I picked a Wind Waker for 15 quid. Now, generally, that was about 25. I picked up Twilight Princess for 20 a couple of weeks ago on the Wii U as well. And that was usually 25, maybe 28 secondhand. So I don't know what's happened with CEX, but they've randomly dropped their prices on
Mike
the Wii
in a retro game pickup shocker. Genuine shocker.
Well, we need Wind Waker for next year, but I also wanted a copy of Twilight Princess anyway.
So
the love is spreading.
I'm looking at.
Well, I'd never played any of the Bayonetta games. I thought for a $5, and I enjoy playing on my Wii U still. Like, I don't give a shit what anyone says.
No, the Bayonetta games are excellent. They're a little frantic, but they're really good.
And I was going to pick them up for Switch, but I've lost the portability. But I'll play them at home and on the Wii.
After playing Mario 3D World, I'll tell you what game that I had originally had zero interest in, and that I'm kind of interested in now is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, because they have those little offshoot missions, which I'm assuming spawned this game.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the list of best Wii U games, and it's kind of thin.
Yeah.
It is.
Super Mario 3D World should definitely be on top of that list.
Realistically now, the only things that the Wii U has got over the Switch Mario 3D World. Well, I say got over. Like, these are the games that are probably the only ones missing from being transferred to Switch now to really play some fantastic games that you missed out on if you didn't have a Wii U, because obviously Xenoblade Chronicles is coming. Not that I've played that, but I would argue Mario 3D World, the 2 Zelda remasters, and whichever. I've not played it, but I know it's a big deal. Like the Pikmin game that's on Wii U. Is it Pikmin 3?
Yes.
Yeah, like I would argue that as soon as those all get ported to Switch, like you can fuck the Wii U off.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I'm just skimming through a list of ones.
There's a Metroid Prime. Is that for Wii U or is that for Wii? The Metroid Prime trilogy.
That's on Wii.
Released one for Wii U.
Yeah, it's not on Wii
normal
U.
Wii, because I've got it. Because we're playing Metroid Prime this year, and
next.
I've got
not next.
I got the trilogy for original Wii.
Oh, rock on. Yeah, Super Mario Maker should be on that list too, because the first Super Mario Maker was genuinely good.
Yeah, but we've got 2 now, so.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying it was a good Wii U game.
Man, the Wii U had such a shit library of games, though. Holy cow!
It does have one super expensive collectible game though.
It's the Hello Kitty kart racer. Oh, yeah, kart racers.
Okay, then it's got 2.
No, the
other one
the Hello Kitty
Devil's
is
Third.
original Wii, isn't it?
No, I think it's Wii U.
Okay, sorry, Zach. What game did you say?
It's a game by Tanaharu Itagaki, the same guy who made the original Ninja Gaiden, and it is absolute shit, but it's called Devil's Third. If you can find an original release of that sealed, it's worth some money.
Devil's Third.
Yep, it's terrible. I own 2 copies of it. I own one sealed and one unsealed, but it's an absolute piece of shit, but it's relatively rare. Digit is a widely released digital game because they knew it wasn't going to sell well. So physical copies are kind of hard to come by.
Oh shit, that Hello Kitty game came down in price. It's called Hello Kitty Cruisers with a K.
Right.
And it's only
What's it at?
It's only at 47. I remember when it was like 180.
Yeah,
And I think it plummeted after the Switch version came out,
probably.
which sucks.
Yeah.
Because I've had some games in my collection take an absolute nosedive because of re-releases.
Yep. Well, but you gotta look at it as like HD remasters usually cause the inverse of that. They usually cause the original's value to go up. But when they just do a blanket re-release, prices are going to plummet.
I found Devil's Third, and I'm pretty. 365 Games is all brand new games, isn't it? They didn't do secondhand ones.
Who?
Am I at 365 Games?
Who?
You've obviously never used them. They might be. Well, it is a .co.uk site, but I'm sure I'm going to have a look at this because I need to figure out if they just do brand new games or not. But if they only do brand new games, they've got Devil's Third for £10.49.
Interesting.
Yeah, I see.
It could have just been a US release thing too, and it could be that they may have done like a second batch of printing.
So,
maybe.
I'm looking at price charting right now, and Devil's Third Wii U complete in box is $56, but the PAL version is $13.
Yeah, it must be US one then.
So it could have been US release then.
Might be similar. Remember, I got Eternal Darkness on the cheap as well over here.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't care what price charting says. I've never seen a copy of that.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen this box art before, so I must have heard it. Interesting.
Yeah, there's some really interesting Wii U games. I don't discount the system at all, but it's got a very limited library, and it's got the Wii syndrome where kind of at the tail end of its library, it was just garbage. Garbage.
I don't think anybody's ever going to compete with the amount of shovelware that the Wii threw out there. It was bad.
It's up there with the DS and like the Game Boy Color for at the end of the generation. Just like, here's a game about a hat and it's got a stick and there's Kitty.
Yeah, I think the Switch is somewhat competing on the eShop front. Have you gone into the eShop lately? There is a bunch of garbage in there.
Oh, look, they're porting on like some mobile games to it, aren't they? And some of them just weird choices, but also a lot of them don't translate from what I can see.
I read a really interesting developer article about pricing games on the Switch, because the Switch is a terrible storefront by all accounts. It is horrible to try to navigate. And the whole goal is to get into the great deals or the featured section. So what people will do is they will price their game really high and then sell it for 99 cents. And what they're discovering is that they actually make infinitely more sales doing it that way. Even though they're only selling their game for $1, people look at it and go, I'll throw $1 at this. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a few games on the Switch. And I'm like, this is crap, but I only paid 9 cents. And
Yep.
they're seeing massive influxes of sale by doing that. So it's just a bunch of crap on there.
I try not to go to the Switch online store that often because I kind of treat it like Steam. Anytime there's a sale and there's something under $1, I'm like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
And then I spend $12 on shit. Although I do get a couple gems. I played Slain for the first time.
I picked up Frederick, that music game, for 32 cents, and that turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, so you can find diamonds in the pile.
I am willing to throw under $5 at almost anything and be like, I'll try this. I mean, shit, on Steam, I've got a game called There's Poop in My Soup, and I paid 8 cents for it.
Nice. Yeah, I paid full price for Agony, so I'm not allowed to judge anybody on there.
What the fuck is that?
Their purchasing prowess. Although I will admit, Agony got patched and it's better now. I
remember you talking about this.
Yeah, Agony was a shit show. And just as a tiny recap, it's a game where you were ostensibly playing
a demon, right?
A character that you're a character that gets thrown into hell, and you're kind of trying to fight your way out and be the top of the shit pile in hell.
Wow.
And when the game came out, it was totally broken in every way. The gameplay wasn't right. The graphics were buggy. And its whole shtick was it was supposed to be the super adult game with, I mean, just crazy shit. And I won't even get into it because it's not at all appropriate for even like NSFW.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Comments.
It's
Yeah, it's crazy. But they did release a patch. The publisher, when they released it on Steam, had made them pull out all the adult-rated stuff. So they kind of put that back in. But they went back and they listened to a lot of feedback, and they made it sort of a more linear game. And it's just ultimately better. I'm not going to call it a game of the year. I'm not even going to call it like a solid B. It's a C+, but it's worth playing. And especially if you can get it for $1. It's an interesting conceptual game.
What systems is it on? Just PC? PS4.
It's on PC.
It's on Switch.
I know it's on PS4 and it's on PS4 and Xbox. I don't know that I'd play it there, honestly. I think I'd stick to Steam if you wanted to play it because, the more horsepower you have at it, the better it's going to look. And looking well and having this sort of atmospheric hell built around you is the best part of the game.
It is $12 on Steam right now.
Excellent.
That's
well worth your $12.
At least it's at mixed reviews.
Zach and getting Eric to spend money, shocker.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of spending money.
I bought it for full price, so yeah, I can't talk.
So I have put 2 games on my shelf this week that I've paid full price for and will probably never open.
Let's hear
I
it.
am now over 50% of my Trails in the Sky collection fully sealed. Trails in the Sky 3 came out last Tuesday, something like that.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I really want to play through that franchise because Trails in the Sky is revered as one of the premier JRPGs of this generation. Well, technically last generation or 2 generations ago, but of this era. It's supposedly just phenomenal. And then you have to flip into 2nd chapter, then 3rd chapter, and then after that it flips into Trails in the Sky, which tells the opposing side of that Erebonian War. But Trails of Cold Steel is apparently just a fantastic RPG, which the latest one has been it's been compared to a crossover between Persona 5 and Suikoden, which sounds amazing. But I don't want to open it.
Shit, I may pick that up.
I don't want to open it. What are your thoughts, Mike? Should I open it?
Hey, don't confuse me with Dan.
Mike has leaned back and is clearly disengaged. But then,
no, don't confuse me with Dan. You do what you want with your games.
I got an email a week and a half ago saying that a game that I apparently ordered on January 1st of this year has finally shipped, and that was the limited run games copy of Celeste.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you look up prices,
I got that totally out of the blue. I do not remember ordering it.
Look up eBay prices on that thing right now.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Is it bad?
It's up there. It's like last time I checked, it was like $190.
Jesus
Good
Christ.
Lord.
Well, they delayed that, didn't they? So they could get the DLC on the...
Yep. They put in a really neat collector's card and then a really cool little postcard in there that explained, hey, this is not typical of our length of production time, but we appreciate your patience while we want to have the full complete game on this cartridge. So, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to open it.
Yeah, don't bother playing that last bit anyway. You know my thoughts on that.
Just tucked it on my shelf. A couple other things I want to point out that I picked up. A sequel to Tales of Symphonia, which I talked about, that I picked up not long ago, for the Wii, called Dawn of a New Generation. Or Dawn of a New World, I'm sorry. Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World. Which...
I really like the Tales games, and then I really didn't like them, and now I really like them again.
So Tom has been hounding me to get into these for quite a while, because he and I like those weird offshoot JRPGs, and we both have been really bad about unsubscribing to the Humble Bundle monthly over the past few months, so we've just kind of gotten this stockpile of random codes. So we go onto this website called Steam Trades, and I traded away a few games to get a copy of Tales of Berseria, and I started playing through that just to see what it was like on PC. And good God, that game is right up every one of my alleys. So the Tales games is definitely a franchise I want to dive into. And Tom's like, definitely start with Symphonia, because it kind of kicks off the whole modern era of those games. So I didn't know that there was a copy of it on the Wii, and it was $4.
Nice.
So there we go. There's that. A couple
the Tales games are they a bit like Final Fantasy, where they don't really follow on from one another? They're just in a certain style and things like that. Or
that would more be a question for Tom, but I believe so.
Hey, Tom. Yeah. Tom.
We'll wait.
Tom.
He's in the Moose Copter.
On the Moose Cop. Moose Copter 1, Citizen 1.
Get it, Dan, because Tom's not actually here. Dan?
I grabbed a couple DS games. I've been on a DS kick lately. I picked up an open copy of Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings, so I can finally play that, because I'm not opening my sealed copy, for being honest.
Ring of Fates really did a number on you with the wanting to play DS recently, didn't it?
It did, yeah. That game was so good. I really enjoyed that game. And then I picked up another Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales, which, if you are not familiar with, they did a little bit of a spin-off series, Final Fantasy Fables, where they took modern fables and kind of retold them in a Final Fantasy world with chocobos. So like the tortoise and the hare, and it's all done in little mini game things. So the tortoise and the hare one is you're a chocobo and you have to race. I forget what No, you're not a chocobo. I think you're an adamantoise or something like that, and you have to race a chocobo. And it just kind of retells that. It's just a mini game, like get to the top of the mountain in this time, and then you can do it faster to get more rewards, and you just kind of march through it that way. So it's a really cool little bite-size game. It does have an overarching story, but it's told through these little individualized mini games, and the art style on it is incredible. Picked that up for $5. So
I've liked all the Chocobo offshoot games, because like Mysterious Dungeon 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's the name of the one I was thinking about on the Wii, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they re-releasing that on Switch? Mystery Dungeon.
They originally debuted on the original PlayStation, so I think they're all kind of re-releases. But man, those were good games.
Yeah, the Fable or the let's see, Chocobo's Dungeon.
Let's see.
No, I'm not going to dig into it right now. I picked up, on Mike's recommendation as well, New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe U on the Switch.
Yep, also a cracking game.
That game was great.
Very underrated, I feel.
Excellent game.
And
that's got the Luigi stuff on it too, right?
Yep.
New Luigi U. Yeah. But like time trial stuff. That's
or as I like to call it, fuck your skills. Part 2.
Suicide mode.
Holy shit, that game's hard.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's super challenging.
And I picked up a busted ass GameCube for $60.
Oh, did you get the ugly one?
No, I got a great mint condition silver one. Went to the store, they didn't have any out there. I'm like, do you guys have any in the back? He's like, yeah, we should have one in the back. And that should have been my first indication. It's like, it's in the back. Brought it out, he cleaned it up. The eject button was kind of sticky. So I'm like, just clean that up and I'll buy it. Got it home, plugged it in. Press power, literally nothing. Not even a light, not even a little tick from the fans. Like, you son of a bitch. Aww. So I took it back, and now I don't have a GameCube.
I know we've been through this, and I know you want to get the Game Boy player for it, and I understand that, but I still just don't. understand your eagerness to try and get a GameCube when you have a Wii and you can just get the component cables for the Wii and the games will look better through that. The GameCube games will look better through that than
Mike, you are talking to somebody who purchases games and doesn't
composite cable
and doesn't open them.
Holy shit, we're going to come to the point of the argument where Eric just says it has a handle.
I'm surprised we're not there already.
That was my next point.
I know him well.
Listen, you show me one other console ever released that has a handle that isn't portable.
Mike, you need to come to MoCon next year just so you and I can talk him into spending $700 on a Panasonic Q.
Okay.
But together we can do it.
It might have to be in 2 years.
Can we somehow convince him to pay for my flights as well?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
I got it. Hey, I'm a Patreon. I'm supporting you right now. This is what I'm doing. Me supporting you, Mike. Me to you.
I'm not entirely sure we'll be at MoCon next year because of Tom's wedding.
Oh, yeah, shit.
I know.
Yeah.
I got my invitation.
Are you going to go?
Ooh.
We shall see.
What? That's awesome.
That's a we shall see, because with the new job, I do actually have a center that's in the UK, and if I can swing it at the same time.
So we could go on a game spending spree in Europe. Oh, God.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, God.
That's just me trying to pack PAL consoles into a suitcase and getting stuck at customs and explaining how these aren't bombs.
Christy and I are both taking each a large suitcase. Like, you do know that all of my shit is going to be crammed into yours because I'll probably be buying stuff.
Mike, he's going to have like one suit, one pair of jeans, and 4 t-shirts.
And he's going to be wearing them all as he flies
all the
over.
time, right?
It's like when I came to London a couple years ago, one full suitcase was nothing but food and candy and just junk. It was my large suitcase. I packed 2 weeks worth of clothes into a tiny carry-on suitcase, including my suit.
Hey, and despite all of my telling you to do it, you still did not bring them orange cinnamon rolls. So we got to figure that out this year.
Well, no, that's before. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
See how he just gave in.
I've proven that you can make it to England. I've proven you can make it to England with refrigerated biscuits that don't pop or go bad.
That's right.
I've done it, and Dan enjoyed it. So, moving on here, real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Sonic's new look.
No.
Have you seen it?
It's better.
I would.
It looks more like Sonic.
Yeah,
it's not terrifying. So. That helps.
Yeah.
It's Sonic now. I think people have lost their desire for it.
Are we all supposed to say yay? Because like it doesn't seem like that should have been that hard.
Like, why didn't you do this from the first place? Like, congratulations! It now looks like it should have.
Yay! You're not stupid. But that doesn't give me a lot of hope for the rest of the film, honestly.
I'll still take my kids to see it.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Carrey's in it, so
I think he's going to carry that movie. Get it? Get it? Get it?
That was punny.
Wonder if Dan gets it.
Ask him. Message him now.
Yeah. I mean,
just send a message saying, get it down.
I'm going to.
My favorite part of that whole Sonic debate was that within seconds of that trailer came out, there was like 6 million DeviantArt guys that came out and like, do you not understand? This is all you have to do, and made like 3 Photoshop edits, and it was 1,000 times better. I don't understand how you hired somebody to design Sonic who had never fucking seen him before. Yeah. This strikes me of like the original Mega Man cover art. Well, we didn't let him play the game, so he's just this dude with a gun and big pants. Like I was blown away.
This guy does way too many squats, and he's somehow not able to engage his ass when he does his squats, so just his thighs get large. Oh, Dan's replied.
This is.
He said probably not.
This strikes me as like when I go to the doctor and I tell him I have a sore ankle. He's like, that's going to hurt. You should take a lot of aspirin now. Like how none of your education was applied to my diagnosis.
Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that.
Well, that just sucks. Now you're getting older, sport. You know, like, great, thanks. I'm so glad I paid a copay for this.
Can I at least get some Vicodin on the way out?
Yeah. Well, that's not a problem.
Here you go. Here's a prescription for 5 years worth. They'll fill it all at once if you want.
Here's 100 milligram Vicodin. Hope you can remember your name tomorrow. No, thanks. I'm good.
Speaking of painkillers, I had painkillers with my hip surgery, and they do not sit well with me, so I can confidently say that I would probably never get hooked on them.
Are they made of Mr. Pibb?
Yes, it was just...
Mr. Pibb and Curly Whirlies.
I feel like that's come up a lot in the last couple shows since I was here, and I'd like to stress once again, Eric did not warn me about the Mr. Pibb blowing up in my face, literally. What he said was, Mr. Pibb doesn't agree with me. I'll have a large.
It tastes so good.
And then the white room was beige. It was like our room looked like the inside of a cigarette filter after we.
You know what the problem was?
So bad.
You know what the problem was? Going back to that story, they gave us our drinks and then proceeded to have the Toothless Wonder make all of our food. That took like another 10 or 15 minutes. So we're sitting there, and I'm starting the clock on the explosion at the first sip. I'm like, here we go, and we're just sitting there waiting for our food. And
you could hear it too. It was like the Willy Wonka machine that made the everlasting gobstopper. Oh, Jesus! He's rolling up a window. What the hell's going on here?
Because that's the best thing. You keep your window up, and then they have to put their window down so it all gets sucked past them.
Although I think that it was like the fallout from it. That's what made Redneck Rondo have only one tooth. Is
just
that
fell out.
Eric rolled up his window, mine was down, and I blasted all the air conditioning at her. So the stench just flowed into her soul. All her teeth fell out.
I love Mr. Pibb. It's too bad we can't find it down here.
So can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I got to go back to the games we played segment. And Mike, if you have already talked about this, forgive me, and I'm sorry, I may have missed it. Did you play the new Ghostbusters game?
Yes. Yeah, finished it.
How was that? How was it?
It was basically, in terms of the actual remaster, like I got it on Switch, so I didn't get it, like it didn't look any like that much better, to be honest. I mean, I didn't play it. I played it portably for the most part. I did dock it. Didn't look any worse when it was docked. I've seen the 4K versions on YouTube and stuff. Like it looks all right, it looks fine. But in terms of the actual game, if you played the original, or you are basically, I'll give you the review of my game from when it was out the first time. If you are a fan of Ghostbusters, like it's just pure fan service, the entire thing. So it's just a fantastic experience, it's a serviceable game. I always have fun with it. But if you are a fan of Ghostbusters, like it's very clear that the people who made it have a lot of love for the franchise. There's so many little Easter eggs and nods to the films and everything like that. The remaster still has some of the problems that the original had, like most notably the lip sync of the audio is just fucking way off, like really, really way off, and it was in the original as well, and I thought they would have fixed it. There's a random, like, complete difficulty spike just before the final boss, which doesn't seem to have been addressed either. Its loading screens still seem quite long as well, but they've got rid of something that was annoying on the original, because whenever you died on the original, you'd have this, like, I'm not even exaggerating, sort of 20, maybe 30-second loading screen, and it would do the Ghostbusters theme the entire, like, every single time. So every single time you died, you'd sit there and listen to the Ghostbusters theme for 20 to 30 seconds. Luckily, they've ditched that, so that's a benefit. Not as long as I remember. I think I finished it in about 8 to 10 hours. But for the price they're charging for it, I mean, I picked it up on Switch for $23.99, I think it was. And I think on Xbox and PlayStation, it was only 20 quid brand new.
Okay.
But
yeah, I was curious because I knew it came out. I knew you were a fan of Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. So like I was waiting on a show for you to talk about it. Like I got like, ear stoppers and everything because I was ready for it to be like loud and proud. And
I'm a changed man with this new recording equipment. I can hear myself.
That's true. That's true.
But no,
I didn't know if it was going to be like me in Metal Gear 5 where I just came out of it like, God damn it. Yeah.
Did you play the original? Like,
I did, and I thought it was good.
Yeah. If you liked the original and you want to revisit it, it's a great way to revisit it, and it's cheap as well. So, I did, because it's technically eligible for the show because it came out 2009.
You had it on the list for next year.
Yeah, I put it on the list for next year for Halloween, but I know that part of our feedback was some people weren't quite happy with doing such modern games, like, you know, literally on the bridge of the 10 years. So I might change it. So
okay, guys. Look, I'm the oldest one here, and I'm gonna tell you, and for the whole audience, as you get older, time moves faster.
Oh fuck yeah, it does.
You cannot just go, well, it doesn't seem old. It's fucking old now.
Yeah. But also,
like I was looking, like The Last of Us is going to be 10 years old in just a handful of years, and that seems like yesterday. So, you know, I think you guys have a good mechanism for which to say what's eligible and what's not. That's just my 2 cents. I'm sorry if I've offended any listener.
Zach, it's funny.
You're welcome to hate me as well.
So you mean he dislikes.
It's funny that you mentioned that because there was a really cool website. This has nothing to do with gaming in the least, but there's a really cool website that gives you a solid visual representation of why time flies. And I posted a link to it for you guys there. It's called Why Time Flies by Maximilian Kiner. And as you scroll down, it gives you this perception of, okay, well, 1 year when you're a year old seems to take forever because that's your whole life. But as you get older, a year is less time in your life that you have to perceive it against. A day is obviously even shorter than that. So I'm even noticing now in my 30s, like days just blink by. They just go. Weeks, like I can still like, okay, Monday to Friday. Like, yeah, it's a week, but still you get to Friday, like, fucking hell, where'd the week go? And it's not that you're busy, it's just that your perception of time is so drastically different. And talking to my grandpa about it too, he's like, yeah, for me, 5 years, blink, gone. It's like, because you're 90. But as all you do on this website is you just scroll your mouse and it has this bar that goes along the bottom and it shows you, okay, this is your whole life. This is 1 year. Then it adds the second and then so on and so forth. But as you're doing that, it gives you a representation of, or it gives you a little insight as to the theory and why it's appearing this way. And, you know, when you're 1 year old or 2 years old, a year is 50% of your life and so on. It's just a really neat little thing to scroll through to give you some perception.
Yeah, I mean, and I happen to agree with that whole concept because again, every time we talk about, like when we were talking about Eternal Darkness on the last show, I was like, that didn't seem like it came out that long ago. But yeah, it's 15 years old. So, you know, you have to step back and always say, like, just because it doesn't seem like a long time to you doesn't mean that it's not retro. Doesn't mean that it's not, I'm not going to call it vintage, but definitely retro games. Well, as fast as we move with games today, have to be in the 5 to 10 year bracket.
The interesting thing is, anyway, like going back saying, you know, our cutoff is 10 years. Funnily enough, the PS3 and Xbox 360 games, especially some of the earlier ones, they don't look as good as you remember. Like, there is a massive difference. Everyone says, oh, yeah, there's not that much difference between PS3 and PS4. Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
I played, what did I play this year? Spec Ops The Line, which was fairly early on PS3. That thing looks like shit on there. Great game, but it looks like shit on PS3.
Somebody said to me once, and it's totally true, that, like, games from your youth always look better. Not because they look better, but because your imagination had to fill in a lot of the gaps, right? You and your brain had to process what things meant, especially, I mean, and I think that's absolutely true when you talk about original polygonal games, because it looks so rough. I mean, you think about the original Tomb Raider, and I can remember everybody in that generation talking like, oh yeah, Laura's got boobs shot, but you know, that's stupid shit. But like, if you look at the character model for Laura, it's ridiculous looking.
Yeah.
It looks like 2 triangles on top of 2 rectangles with a sphere for a head. And like, but it's your imagination that kind of fills in those gaps. And yeah, we're sort of losing that, but I would much rather the route where like I can actually tangibly recognize things from just how they appear in games.
Well, I think it's important too to bring all that up again every so often within the show is why we have that 10-year mark. And you hit it right on the head with that. If you look at where we were when we first started this show back in 2012, we at the show's current state, we are as far from the launch of the PS3 as we were from the launch of the PS2 when the show started.
Yeah.
You know, so we were at the tail end of the PS1 N64 era for our 10-year mark-ish. Well, no, we were right at the beginning of PS2, so right at the tail end of those other two. But yeah, we're correlation-wise, you know, when we first started the show, people were like, yeah, PS1 is great. Okay, well, we're 10 years, almost 10 years further down the road. PS3 is that same distance.
Yeah.
Interesting question for you, Eric. You said you'd never play The Last of Us again, but in several years' time, when it's eligible for the show, would you play it for the show?
No.
No, but like if we were requested to do it, or one of us put it on our list, I'm not saying we're going to, but like, would you still go? Nah, I don't want to play it.
I don't know. Depends. I think maybe the reason I don't want to play it right now is because I know there's that sequel coming out, and I just want to continue the story. Once I know they're definitively done with the franchise, maybe.
I always think like you'd want to have like a psychologist on that show with you, because The Last of Us it's a great game, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing earth-shattering about it. It's the story that sort of takes you out of your comfort zone.
I can't remember the name of the book, but
it'd be interesting to have different types of people in there.
It's the investment in the characters, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But great game. But I happen to agree. Like, I think me playing that is somebody without kids versus me playing it with kids makes it a totally different game.
I think there was a book called The World Without Us that Neil Druckerman referenced this book a lot because it talks about what would happen if humanity and civilization just disappeared. How quickly would the world take over again? And it goes into extreme depth about like, it really wouldn't take that long for just like, look what happens when a house isn't lived in, how quickly weeds sprout up and plants take over and all that. It'd be neat to have somebody on to talk about that too.
Yeah. And again, like I always look at stuff like that and say that games have a different impact depending on where you are in your life. Like, Celeste had a huge impact on you. Would it have had the same impact 10 years ago? Would it have the same impact 10 years from now? I mean, and those sort of beg questions, but I think that looking at games from 10 years in our past is absolutely a wonderful way to understand not only how the game was physically built and how that game was received by the public. Because, Eternal Darkness is one of those. It's one of my favorite games. And it's definitely not a game that I could pick up and play easily today because it just doesn't make any sense anymore.
Well, I think to add on to that...
But at its time...
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, no. I was just going to finish up and say that, but I think that it doesn't take away from that experience that I had when I first played it. Because, it was my first real house. I had my first real 5.1. Like, I think it was a Dolby Digital surround sound setup. And I can remember specifically the first moment that I knew that game had me was one of the wall knocking sequences. And I got up and answered my door in the middle of the night. And I was fucking creeped out.
Yeah.
Because I recognized that the game made me do it.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. Mike, you had that experience with thinking the controller. And that's probably not as dramatic as it was for me. I was standing with my door open in the middle of the night looking out into the street going, oh, shit, the game got me.
See, and that there is the point that I want to stress is that I think the 10-year mark, especially now, is so important because 10 years ago, I was in my early 20s. Mike was in his early 20s. We were playing games that we could actually cognitively perceive at that time, and we're going to have stronger memories of those games. If we start diving back into NES and Super Nintendo, those are, by all accounts, retro games. We're going to be looking at it through a lens of modern eyes instead of, okay, this is what I perceived this game to be when we played it versus how it is now. And I think that lends itself to a better show.
Well, I said this about Eternal Darkness. I said if I had played this when it came out, when, I was always big on the Resident Evil series. Resident Evil series is one of my favorite series of all time. And if I played Eternal Darkness when it came out at the time I was, my feelings towards the Resident Evil series at the time, I would have fucking loved Eternal Darkness at the time.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we played it for the show and looked back at it and I kind of went,
Well, and I'll use that example and say I still love it because I'm a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. Not the racism so much, but the cosmic horror.
Thanks for clarifying.
But, you guys mentioned it on the show is where you got to the end of that game and you kind of felt like, well, every ending's the bad ending. Welcome to H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Where the whole point of cosmic horror is to show that humanity is insignificant compared to the old gods that really drive the universe. I mean, in the H.P. Lovecraft lore, and this is just one tiny example, and then I'll shut up about it. But, the whole universe, all of reality is a dream by its greatest entity, which is Azathoth, there's a whole bunch of like lesser entities like Cthulhu and all those guys that make sure that he is surrounded by people playing music at him all the time. Because if Azathoth was to ever wake up, his dream would end and reality would cease. So again, cosmic horror is about the insignificance of man. And I got to the end of that game and I went like, fuck yeah, this game's about the insignificance of our choices and, you know, how we're really just
So what you're saying is Azeroth is the windfish?
Yeah. I mean, Azathoth is based on the windfish. Or the windfish is based on Azathoth and some of the stuff from Twin Peaks, which is very Lovecrafty. And if we could go into that another whole show. Another one of my favorite games. Now you know why.
Just going back a sec, you saying about the you were so into Eternal Darkness that you thought the knocking was at your own door and everything.
Yeah.
Reminded me, this is completely off subject, but it just reminded me of the first time I ever played Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And I was playing it in the dark by myself in my bedroom, curtain shut and everything. And I was that invested. I was just playing on a standard TV, like, you know, nothing, no kind of sound quality or anything like that. But I remember being so invested and so unnerved by that feeling of terror that the original Silent Hill gives you. I remember the first time there's the air raid sirens, like as you're kind of walking around the school when it changes. I literally thought for this is how into it I was. I thought the air raid sirens were actually outside. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Why is there air raid sirens all of a sudden? That's how invested I was in that. Well, those moments of video games, man, you just can't replicate them.
We'll talk about a cultural explosion too, and how sort of pop culture affects things. Because, like, have you ever been out on a foggy day where somebody didn't say, "Oh, it looks like Silent Hill"?
Yeah.
Like, that has sort of permeated the sort of underlying way that we think about fog and, you know, the sort of dystopian wreck that is hell and all that. But I absolutely agree that there are games like, and I'm one of those that I will tell you that I don't play VR games when I'm alone at home, like in the middle of the night. That's where I draw the line, because I recognize if I've got my headphones on and I've got my VR helmet on, I'm alone in a room and I have fucking no idea what's going on around me.
Yeah.
And like, especially horror games in the middle of the night. Nope. Don't need that in my life. You know, I'll play Beat Saber, but I'm not playing that shit. So yeah, sorry. Tangent done.
Should we talk about some recent releases? Because I want to talk about Nintendo's new controller.
Yeah, go on. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, actually.
So I picked up Ring Fit Adventure for the Switch, which...
I can see the little box in the background there.
Yeah.
Nice.
What a game. And I'm reluctant to really call it a game. It is an exercise machine. And it is kicking my ass.
I've heard that.
It's nothing to go into lightly, because you will absolutely get your butt kicked. Does it substitute going to the gym? I mean, no. But there's a lot of people that are really into, like, you know what, I'm just going to maintain exercise at home. I'll do static exercises. You know, I'll watch jazzercise videos or whatever the hell. But this is such a unique blend of gaming and exercise that Christy and I both genuinely look forward to playing it each night. So what it is, it's a very bare bones, stripped down RPG hidden within an exercise game. So the premise is really kind of stupid. There's this big muscular beefcake dragon that has stolen these 5 power essences from this character whose name is Ring, and he is a ring that you hold on to. So you go through each of these different levels, and it's kind of like Final Fantasy.
Are you sure he's not a coin?
No, he is definitely a ring. But he could. No, maybe
his name's Halo.
Oh, he could be. I'm going to start calling him Coin Adventures, or Coin Fit. There we go. I got it. It's like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Top down, you choose which level you want to pop into. And, you know, there's no open world or anything like that, but you get into a world and it is completely linear. To move, you have to run in place, and you're holding the ring in front of you, and as you move it around, it manipulates what your character is doing. When you squeeze it together, you create little puffs of blast to attack boxes to get coins. If there's stuff off on the side, you can pull it apart and use it like a vacuum. If you point it at the ground, you can hit a puff of air to shoot yourself up into the air to collect stuff above you. But the neat thing is that this isn't just any plastic ring. Like, this is a full-on Pilates ring. And at the beginning, when it helps calibrate your difficulty, it's like, all right, squeeze in on this as hard as you can. Like, I had to really press in to get it to register 100%. Christy could only get it to 63%, and she did it like 4 different times. Like, come on, you can squeeze harder than that. 63% is as hard as she could get it, and it adjusts your difficulty from there. So the first 2 worlds, it's just getting you acclimated to the game. When you go into combat, you have 6 different maneuvers or 6 different exercises that you can choose from, and they're basically your different attack skills. So the one thing I will say, and I'll explain this later, is that the first 2 worlds are very tedious in that you only have 6 exercises to choose from, and they get very worn out. It's like, I really wish I had some more. And I read that going into this. Like, don't be discouraged, because once you get past the first 2 worlds, things really blow open and you start collecting more exercises. So you have your squat, you have the, it's a stupid yoga chair pose. You sit on the floor and you do knee to chest. You have an overhead press. And then I can't think of the other ones that you have. But anyway, it plays out very much like a basic RPG combat where you choose what you want to do. You attack. You can choose which person you want to attack. And then when it's the enemy's turn to attack, you take this Pilates ring and you squeeze it into your stomach, and they call it ab guard. And depending on how hard you're squeezing it, you get yourself a bigger, better shield to protect yourself, because when you get hit, you lose hearts. And if you lose all your hearts, you have to start the level over. And through the course of the first 2 worlds, they just introduce you to new mechanics about navigating the world and then doing different bits of combat. So once you hit the 3rd world is when things really open up, and they introduce a color coding system where each of the exercises is color coded. So red is for upper body and arms, and then I think yellow is for core, blue is for, like, turquoise is yoga or something like that. And the enemies that pop up are color coded. So if you want to attack an enemy and cause more damage, use use an exercise that's that same color. And some of them attack all the enemies, some only attack one. So it's really neat for Christy to be going through this, someone who doesn't play RPGs, to start to understand the mechanics of how do you plan out a battle. Because when you get to one of the boss battles, it's very clear if you don't attack in a very certain pattern, you are going to die. And she did. Like, okay, do you want me to help walk you through this? So I helped show her, and she's like, okay, this now makes a lot more sense. Do as many attacks as you can that cause multiple damage, and then dial it back to your individual ones. But the game itself it's really neat. It's a ton of fun, and it will absolutely kick your ass. Christy and I, after the first couple of days, woke up, we're like, are you sore? Yeah, I am dying. And anybody who hates going to the gym and wants to work out but also have fun doing it, it's a really cool little game.
My wife is super interested in it, and I am having a hard time finding one. Apparently, they're selling out like across Atlanta. They have little websites with lists of who's getting one and who's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to picking one up.
It's like in the UK.
The tracking on it isn't the best, and I think this might be due to a defective Joy-Con. So my right Joy-Con goes into the ring, and as you're running in place, the ring on the screen would lose calibration, and sometimes you'd be pointing up at the sky. I'm like, I'm clearly holding this forward, so you'd have to stop and you'd have to hold it steady at the facing down, and then it would recalibrate to pop up. So it kind of breaks the immersion on that a little bit. But the one that goes onto your leg is super accurate in that they give you little tips on exercises. So if you're doing something improperly, it can tell you. It tells you that you're doing it with poor form. If you're not squatting low enough, hey, you need to go a little bit lower, because it's tracking it based off that one that's strapped to your leg. And better form equals more power. More power equals you don't have to continue fighting. And you can up your difficulty level. So if you really want to push yourself, I think I have myself on the second to hardest level or something. But every time you pop in, it's like, hey, do you want to make this harder? Like, no, thanks. It's already hard enough.
It must be an American thing, Zach, because Amazon have them here in quite a few stores.
I've heard from my friends elsewhere. Atlanta is one of those weird city hubs where when something goes nuts, it goes nuts everywhere. And after a month, it'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's funny. I heard you say all that, but I was reading into the subtext of, hey, Target, get ready for Eric to go buy a set of Joy-Cons that are going to get returned immediately.
No, actually not. The 25th. No, not the 20th. Oh, when does Luigi's Mansion come out? 31st?
Halloween, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I think those green Joy-Cons are out today.
Woo!
Ooh.
Get them. They are nice.
Yeah, those are really
jelly. If you get those, I am very jelly. But no, it's interesting to hear your thoughts on Ring Fit Adventure, because I've been on a bit of a health kick recently. I've been trying to shed some weight and just generally a bit healthier. Going out and getting plastered last night didn't help, but I am very hungover today. But it's interesting because I always thought, not that I never really properly tried Wii Fit, but I think in terms of the integration of trying to mix the video game side with the fitness side, looking at it, it never had anything that would keep me going back. I mean, I'm generally a kind of gamer who I prefer sort of single player, story driven adventures, because I progress through the story. I'm very rarely someone who just goes in and kind of dicks around on a game, for a few hours with no kind of agenda or anything like that. So something like this where you can mix the fitness in and there's like an actual goal in the game, like not necessarily storyline wise.
There is a story
you're
to
achieving
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there is. Oh, great.
Yeah.
But you're actually achieving stuff in there. It'd be something that would possibly keep me coming back for more. And, I work a lot of hours. There's some days where I should be going to the gym and I go, fuck it, it's too late, I'm going home. If there was something like this at home to maybe, even if I just do 20 minutes on it. I mean, I was doing it with Beat Saber for a little while, where sometimes it was a bit late to kind of go to the gym, so I'd do like half hour of some quite intense Beat Saber. But something like this would be quite interesting, because you can then, rather than just sort of doing the almost cardio side of Beat Saber, you've actually got the physical parts of your body that you're working on. Like you said about the ab guard, you're pushing that against your abs and you're tensing up, you are going to be working your abs doing that. And your specific yoga poses and stuff, they're going to target specific parts of the body.
Yeah, they have a great variety of exercises too, so you can tell a lot of thought went into this, because they're not like, we're just going to throw random colored enemies in there. So as you're progressing through, there's really only 2 or 3 battles per level, because you get tired, and it keeps a little clock in the bottom left, and the clock only ticks up as your body is moving. And they point that out quite frequently. Like, this is not how long you've been playing. This is how long your body has physically been moving. And which is great, because you say, okay, I want to work out for half an hour. And a lot of people be like, oh, half an hour's up. But if you look at how much you've really actually been moving or exercising, it's maybe 60% of that time. So it forces you to keep playing until you've hit that 30 minutes of actual workout time. And some of the later battles that they put together, they have a really good mix of, okay, you have to do a bunch of leg exercises for this enemy, and now we're going to switch it up and do core exercises. And it's built to kind of have an underlying workout routine within it. But they also put in, like I said, some of those RPG elements where you can go to a store and you can buy different outfits that change your attack skills, and you have smoothies that you can buy that restore your health. But also within there, you can go in and you can see the physical recipe for these smoothies. So if you really want to dig into the meat of the game, there's a lot there to offer.
My only concern with it would be longevity, because I've just said my appeal to this would be, okay, I've got stories play through where I'm exercising and everything like that, but what happens once I finish the story?
They have mini games.
Am I going to keep going back?
Yeah, they have mini games. They have single play mode. I haven't delved too much into that because I want to save my energy for actually getting through the story aspect of it. But I can't speak to the longevity of it. But right now, it's kind of getting us both back into it. We've both definitely seen results from it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
I've noticed that I can do squats for longer, because I used to have to do a lot of squats for my hip surgery, and I've kind of died off from that. And I used to be really strong at them and be able to do like 30 of them at a time. Now it's to the point it's like, okay, after 10, I'm dying here. But what's really cool, I forgot to mention this, is when you select an attack, it gives you a counter of how many you need to do. So squats, if you attack an enemy with a squat, you're doing 23 squats, depending on your difficulty level. And the first half is always at a really slow pace. And then after that, it's like, all right, push yourself, and you have to go really fast with them. So it helps kind of do that intensity training as well.
I might actually discuss this with Hazel, because I think she might be on board with this.
Christy loves it.
Herself.
We always argue about who's going to go first for one night, because I want to be the one to experience that first, and she always goes first anyway. So yeah, it's super cool. Anybody who's kind of on the fence about it, I say take the dive. As far as Nintendo goes, it's weird, but it works. It definitely works.
It's $64.99 over here. I've just looked.
It's not cheap.
That's not a bad price.
It is definitely not cheap.
I don't think that's a bad price. If the ring is as robust as you're saying,
it is,
and you're saying the piece, the software is going to be like what 30-40 quid. So you're only really paying
the other thing that's cool
for
the controller. Pilates ring.
Yeah. The other thing that's really cool about it too is you can set it to offline mode where you can put your Joy-Con into it and you can click in on the joystick even when the switch is off, and it'll activate the sensor for it and start recording data. So you can do each day up to 500 individual presses on this Pilates ring. And then as soon as you connect that controller back to the switch, it'll download that data and put it towards your workout.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think, anything that Nintendo does should come with a subtitle. It's weird, but it works.
Except Lavo.
Except for Lavo. But yeah, I'm always interested in stuff that sort of promotes different styles of play, and if I get some exercise out of it, I think that's even better.
Yeah, so I wonder if they'll try and integrate it into some of the games, or hopefully they're going to support the controller in terms of like more games based around the fitness. But I wonder if they'll, how like they've integrated like the Labo into like Mario Kart and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see if they can mix the ring into like as an optional controller on some games.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really enjoying it so far. We play it every night. I think there's one night that we've missed, and we can really only get through one, maybe two worlds in a night. And the first, I'm sorry, not world, levels. And each world has like 5 or 6 levels within it. So there's definitely some longevity in there. And there's a total of 5 worlds.
Wow.
But
well, at least it's got some legs to it.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see the combat rings where it's 2-player and you just beat the shit out of each other with a Pilates ring. I think that sounds like
the enemies in there too are really uniquely named. They're all puns on workout stuff. You'll have a kettlebell type enemy, different sizes, and they look like rabbits with the big ears that fold over the top, so they look like a kettlebell. It's kind of neat stuff. So 2 other big games came out this week. These are big ones.
Yeah.
Which one should we talk about first? Let's talk about Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm not far enough into it to really have an opinion one way or the other. And
I've not played it yet. I didn't get a chance.
I'm about 2 hours into it.
I'd say I'm about
but I like it.
4. But man, what a fucking good game.
Yeah.
I have been...
It feels like New Vegas in space.
But with that true Obsidian undertone of like, okay, these are going to be some good characters. You're going to have a lot of conversations. There's going to be a lot of text choices, but they will have an effect on what happens.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I got a lot of the 2 hours. I spent easily an hour just laughing my tits off at the fucking character creator. Because if you hit randomize, there are some amazing character creations that can come out of this game.
I made the hunkiest idiot I possibly could. The dude is just ripped to the nines, but dumber than a bag of hammers. And if you drop your intelligence all the way to 0, it unlocks the dumb conversation skills, and I choose those every time they pop up. And it's so funny because it physically changes the tone of the conversation.
So just to give a little background on the game is basically Fallout in space. And it's got the whole sort of 50s version of the future aesthetic to it. Again, I'm not too far into it, but what I've seen so far definitely carries through that sort of Obsidian level of humor. Lots of pokes at sort of modern capitalism.
Spacer's choice.
Oh God, it's so good. Yeah, Spacer's choice.
You've tried the best. Now try the rest.
And unlike Fallout, I would say the thing that I like most about it is that it is absolutely 100% actual first-person shooting combat. No more VAT system. You can slow down time, but it's a lot more combat-oriented. So it feels more like game in between game rather than just a kind of straight role-playing game. It feels a lot more like a first-person shooter.
Well, my complaint with...
and it's really good.
My complaint with the Fallout games is that they always felt like they were trying to be Elder Scrolls games, but the worlds didn't feel lived in. And I get the irony in that because you're in this post-apocalyptic world. It shouldn't feel lived in. But those games took it to a whole new level of like, there's just fucking nothing here. And I remember being bored to tears with the Fallout games because like you can really only wander around a desert wasteland so much before you get bored. But the second you drop into Halcyon, it's just glowing with life.
Yeah, and I think, again, I'm not far enough into it, but I'm playing it on Xbox One X. For those of you watching this on video, I did buy it for the PlayStation 4, but I'm playing it on One X through Game Pass. The world design is phenomenal. It's way beyond what even Fallout 4 did.
Yeah.
In terms of just creating a living world where there's stuff running around, there's birds, there's kind of trees flowing around.
There's people everywhere.
And it doesn't feel like it's not like a Fallout game where everybody's just downtrodden. Everybody that I've talked to so far has been kind of upbeat. And I mean, there's stuff going on, but it's just excellent.
You can tell that they're upbeat because they have to be. Like, it's a government requirement to be happy.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned, that it feels so full of life. In some way, because Eric gave the comparisons to obviously Fallout and Elder Scrolls and things like that. But it's interesting that, because of the basis of, because of the themes of the game and where it's based and everything like that, it gives them the opportunity to put more life in. Because you think Fallout, like you've said, it's a nuclear wasteland. A lot of it is abandoned, so it's not going to have a lot of life. Things like Elder Scrolls, it's based in old-timey kind of medieval times where, there just isn't as many people, and the settlements are small, and, you go through a lot of countryside and forests and things like that aren't occupied with, like, loads of human life anyway. So the themes and the basis of this game, lends itself to having much more life. It's out in space. You could argue that maybe there's too many people on Earth, so as they've started branching out to space, there is a lot of life.
Yeah, and every character you come across is so unique, and the game kicks off immediately with comedy because the story is that you are a civilian. Well, there's this planet called Halcyon that is run by Spacer's Choice, and it's 100% capitalism. Literally everything is owned by Spacer's Choice. If you decide to move there, you are a product of Spacer's Choice. They own everything about you, from the valuable minerals within your blood all the way to every piece of product that you ever produce or own. They own it.
Everything Google aspires to be.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
But you were on this ship of a few thousand people that got lost at space called the Hope. And instead of only being cryogenically frozen for 10 years, it ended up being 70 or 80 years or something like that. And then suddenly you are reanimated by this guy that looks like... I'm going to mess this up. Is it Rick from Rick and Morty?
He does.
Or is it Morty?
Yeah.
I don't watch the show, so I don't know the reference.
Rick is the scientist.
Yeah, okay. So he looks like that. He kind of acts a little bit like it, but he wants to reanimate you, send you down to help get his ship fixed so he can jump away with the Hope and do whatever. But you get into this escape pod and you're plunged down to the planet, and you're supposed to meet this guy that the scientist tells you, hey, meet my contact down there. He'll take you to where you need to be. You land, you get out, and as soon as you get out, you see this bloody mess under you. And the guy comes on the radio and goes, God damn it, I told him to hold up the beacon, or to set the beacon and then walk away. And he clearly didn't do that. So you just land on this guy's, on your contact. So that's how the game begins, is with a stupid joke like that. Like, well, okay, I need to do all of this shit now because my fucking contact was an idiot and didn't get out of the way of my escape pod landing. And every conversation, like, I usually don't go through literally every conversation option for a game, but I've been doing it for this game because it's just so well written. The characters are so engaging.
Even the ship.
Yeah.
Because you find that guy's ship and it talks shit to you the whole time.
Oh my God.
Because it thinks that because you're on the ship, you're the guy that got squished.
Yes.
And then it basically says, like, so I can only take orders from him. So can you lie to me and tell me you're him? It's genuinely funny, though.
Yeah.
Unlike that joke, sorry. But it's
the dumb.
It's well written.
The dumb options are hilarious, and I will say, go that route if you can, because there's one mission, like, there's marauders out there that are basically the bad guys, and they'll occasionally pop into town, and you walk in and you have to collect gravesite fees. So you have to pay for your own grave even after death. So if you die, the next closest living relative has to pay your gravesite fees. If you don't have any, well, technically your neighbor is your next closest living relative. They look at proximity. So anyway, the gravedigger sends you on this mission to collect gravesite fees, and you walk in, and I changed my costume to look like a marauder just because it was the next best armor. And I walk in, and this guy goes, "Oh my God, I thought you were a marauder." And one of the dumb options was, or he's like, "Oh my God, marauders, I thought they were in here, and there's clearly nobody else in there." And the dumb option was, "What? Where?" Like, clearly there's nobody else in here, but it's me. And the guy goes, "You ain't too smart, are you?" No, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's such a fun game.
I think I need to play like another 20 hours of this to get a real sense of like how big the world is and how much exploration there will be. But so far, even with just 2 hours, and I can tell you I'm sold.
The combat's
so
great.
From what I can tell from critics and online personalizers and reviews and stuff like that, the actual campaign can be finished in about 20 to 30 hours. But in terms of the size of the world, apparently instead of being one huge world map, you essentially go to different planets and different areas, and you get like several smaller maps.
Excellent.
I'm fine with that. I don't need anything
like a good way to do it.
sprawling. It's just a neat.
Yeah,
it's a neat game.
I don't need Fallout 4 again.
Yeah. No. Apparently,
I don't need it to be that
the
big.
campaign is that short, but apparently it encourages multiple playthroughs.
Oh, perfect.
From what
Awesome.
I've heard. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. But I really am enjoying it so far.
But by the criticisms I've heard, and I know you guys aren't very far into it yet, but the criticisms I've heard, and I wonder if you guys feel this at all. Obviously, Obsidian did New Vegas, and then Fallout 4 has been out since. Let's not talk about Fallout 76, Jesus. The thing that the criticism that I heard is that it doesn't seem to have progressed much since New Vegas, especially since with the things that Fallout 4 did. It still feels very kind of archaic in some ways, but
you know what? I'm okay with that because New Vegas was great. You know, I think New Vegas really nailed a lot of things, and this just kind of brings it forward into a modern game. But one thing I was reading about, I thought I was kind of alone in it until somebody posted. I think Brandon Lee posted it in our Facebook group. Was that the UI is so small. All of the text is so small. Especially when you get those notification pop-ups like, okay, boom, here's how you do this. Like, I got to squint to read it. And apparently it's kind of an issue that they're petitioning Obsidian to give us the option to increase the text even more.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that it's like, oh gosh, what was the Xbox game that released with microscopic text?
Dead Rising.
Dead Rising. It's not that bad, but yeah, I do have to squint a little bit, and I have a big TV right in front of me. So
a neat little fact that I saw about this game is that one of the designers or developers, producer, was colorblind. And there's no colorblind option in this game because it's already been developed to accommodate his condition. That's why it has that really weird color combination.
Awesome.
So for him, it looks completely different, I'm assuming, but it's a neat little world.
I think they will end up patching the text size, though, or at least being able to change it, because it is compatible with the Xbox. What's that controller for? The adaptive controller, they call it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's compatible with that. So the fact that it doesn't have the accessibility settings to change the text size is interesting. So I think they'll patch it. The press it's getting online.
Yeah. And it's not bad. I don't think it's negative press about it. It's just, hey, dude, come on. Like, I wonder how shit like that makes it through QA. How did somebody not say something about that?
Oh, that's because testers sit 2 inches from a monitor.
True.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They don't. they don't ever have it. Yeah. And same thing happened with Dead Rising. They absolutely openly admitted it. They say, our entire development team and QA team was sitting in front of monitors. You know.
Yeah, for them it wasn't an issue.
Very different to us, and that was microscopic.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit! I actually need a magnifying glass for this. But yeah, I very much enjoyed my time with it so far, and I think I'll probably pick that up more so than anything else over the next couple of weeks, until at least Death Stranding comes out.
See, I really want to play
lots
it,
of time to that.
but I'm playing Final Fantasy 15 at the moment. I don't want to abandon that.
If anything, just download it and dabble it, because you have PC Game Pass, and you have a PC that, on what do you have, a 1050? It should run it on medium settings.
Well, I can just play it on my Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you have that. I don't know what I was
I've
thinking.
already downloaded it. I used the app the other day to download it at home while I was at work. So
Gotcha.
I've definitely got it downloaded on there.
Yeah, give it a dabble. It's definitely fun. I'm really enjoying it.
It's worth your time.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I have to be careful though, because Ellie really wants to watch me play it, and occasionally I'll come across some marauders. I didn't know she was sitting on the stairs watching. She's like, "Daddy, I saw you hit that guy's leg off." I'm like, "Oh my god, here we go." Because I'm just walking around with this giant club, just beating people.
Not drawing on them like in Streets of Rage. Then
No, it can't.
Not putting them into lakes. That's positive.
Other big game this week.
Yeah, what was the other one?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, I am not a Call of Duty super fan. I played them kind of like every third game
Same
that
here.
comes out just because I want to see progression. But we started testing it at work, and I was blown away by what we tested there. And I'm gonna just go ahead and give you my 4 hours worth of impressions. It is absolutely the prettiest game, at least on the PlayStation Pro.
I agree.
It
is.
It's doing things that I don't understand how it's doing.
What's really important, though, is to make sure that you optimize your HDR settings for it. I did a little bit of tinkering because if you just go with the default, it won't look as good. Typically, when it pops up with that little box, like, make sure the left logo is just barely visible, I don't even fuck with it because, like, well, this is the default setting, whatever. But I actually tinkered with it a little bit. And if you tinker with it and then tinker with your TV settings, dude, it's phenomenal. That game.
Do you seriously never calibrate with those?
I don't always do it completely because when I do it, it looks too dark. It looks way too dark.
Every time. Like, the first thing I always, even if they don't have one that pops up automatically, every game I play, straight in settings, just double check like brightness and HDR settings. I do it every time. Like, I paid all that money for like the better consoles and for the better TV. Like, I'm gonna get the best out of it.
Yeah, I have an OLED and my settings are perfect on my TV, so I don't dick with the settings on my TV. I dick with the settings in the game.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
If the game doesn't look right, then it's just, screw it. The game's not optimized well. But man, I will tell you, if you get your settings right, Call of Duty is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it might actually be the prettiest game on PS4 right now.
Yeah.
You went for PS4 in the end, then?
I did because, I understand they have crossplay and everything, but the one guy I play with the most, Scott Girardi, he has it on PS4, and it's just easier for group chat and not having to worry about, oh, hey, hop on Discord so we can talk. But the online voice chat, it sounds like you're talking through a tin can. So just hop into a party. My brother-in-law has it on PS4. It was just easier. And at the end of the day, there's really no discernible difference. Unless you were playing on a 1080 Super on PC with ray tracing and all of that, which I don't have.
I'm sure that will look better.
And it has ultra wide field of vision support. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, but PlayStation 4 Pro was actually the lead platform for the development of this.
Because it has exclusive content.
Yeah, it does. It has a whole exclusive mode. But it shows. I mean, I looked at the stuff they've already put out to compare it to the Xbox One X version, and yeah, there's a resolution increase. But the bottom line is they're both using dynamic resolution to adjust for frame rate. And I haven't, at least in the campaign mode, I haven't run into any frame rate problems outside of there's the kind of first main warehouse that you go into, and it's full of alpha effects and it's full of lots of fiery explosions, and that's going to drag. I don't care if you are using an RTX.
It's going to drag it.
SLI setup. It's going to drop it.
I only had one texture issue where the guy, he reaches out to hand you a bottle and it just was like flat textures. And then halfway through that conversation, the textures popped in. Is the only issue I ran across. But those cutscenes and how what magic they worked to go from CGI cutscene fluidly into gameplay. It's so cool. So the second mission, you're flying in on a helicopter and you can tell, okay, this is a cutscene. And then it flips over into looking at your character, and then it just merges into your eyeballs, and then you're suddenly playing. Like, it's just a fluid transition.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, like, a game that's cross-platform, because with them being cross-platform games and yearly, Call of Duty, they're never the games really to be pushing the graphical fidelity side of things at all. So it's interesting that it's a Call of Duty game that's doing it.
It's a new engine this year.
Yeah.
It's the IW engine they're using for it, and it's the first real game that's been pushed out for it. And man, I got to tell you, I am less excited about the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet if we can continue getting stuff that looks like this.
Yeah.
Like the scene where you're doing, it's sort of a night raid in a London townhouse. And you go into night vision, like it is photorealistic looking. It genuinely looks like you are following someone with like an action cam.
I've never really played the Call of Duty games. Just like, as I've said many times on the show before, I've never really been the first person shooter guy. Playing Halo for the show was really kind of opened that up a little bit for me because I did enjoy playing that. But I've got, I think they gave us, was it Black Ops 2 on PS Plus this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it Black Ops 2? Yeah. And they also, I think on PS Plus, I got the original Modern Warfare remake. I've definitely got it. I can't remember if it was on Xbox or on PS4, but I got that for free, and I should probably dabble with one of those really and see how I get on.
I mean, Call of Duty games and Battlefield games, those are sort of the two big players in this space. Call of Duty is a much faster kill. It's more realistic in terms of like, hey, if you throw 3 bullets into somebody, they're dead. And that works in both single player and multiplayer, and it's definitely multiplayer focused. I tend to play them for the campaigns, and I might dabble a little in multiplayer, but it feels very fluid. It's got to focus on frame rate so everything moves nice and fast. And again, that's always been the case, but the visuals this time around are just jaw-dropping.
Well, and not only that, but the one thing that the Call of Duty series has been doing recently that I didn't really like was jumping too far into the future. You know, you had Advanced Warfare, with it's stealing elements from Titanfall where you have jetpacks and you're jumping around on the walls, and it was too much. I didn't really enjoy all of that, so I kind of fell away from it. And Modern Warfare kind of brings it back to, I don't want to say its roots because its roots were in World War II, but it brings it back to some of the roots of this series pushing the boundaries. When Modern Warfare came out, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out, it revolutionized first-person shooters and multiplayer. You know, bullet penetration and online lobbies, just all of the stuff that they did set the tone for the next decade of online shooters. And this gets back to that. But I think what's even more appealing about this game is the actual in-depth look at what modern war really is like and the atrocities and the horrors. I mean, this game is not for the faint of heart. It really pushes the boundaries with what is acceptable to show and what isn't. I mean, there's a scene where you see dead children.
Yeah,
and it
is upsetting.
It is very upsetting. I mean, there's a scene where you're going through London. You remember that Modern Warfare 2 had that airport scene where you're an undercover agent going through the airport, and you can choose to partake in the slaughter of civilians, or you cannot. But there's a very early in the game, you are thrown into combat in the middle of Piccadilly Circus in London with suicide bombers, and they are just executing civilians. I mean, you'll walk into a store to try to save these civilians and they have them lined up and they're just walking up shooting them. I mean, it's upsetting some of the stuff that they're showing, but it's like, this is what warfare is like. These are people you're going to come across.
And as far as I am, I can tell you there's a huge focus on the sort of ethics of using chemical warfare.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, I can accept anything as long as it's a conversation starter. And I think if you were doing it for the right reason, egregious violence in a game is just like egregious violence in a book. As long as it's for the right reason, to start a conversation, to prove a point, I think it's valid, because you've got a whole generation of kids playing games like Call of Duty, like Battlefield, where you're sort of desensitized to the violence. But when you have that moment where it drags you back and makes you really focus, like, hey, here's a guy who is threatening a child's life unless you like open a door, and then if you do it, he kills you, and then the other choice is to not open the door, and then he shoots the kid in front of you. Like, that is an actual teachable, talkable moment with a kid that plays a game. I am not saying this game is for kids, but it's a conversation starter.
Is it 18 as well? Is it rated? It's rated 18, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's just mature. It's not 18 plus.
Yeah.
But it's mature. I'm sorry, it's mature. Yeah, there was conversation like, should this be adult only? Because when you go into the campaign, it actually brings it up, and it's like, there is some extremely upsetting stuff in this. And I don't recall any other Call of Duty or even a Battlefield game.
Well, the one with the airport, the No Russian mission.
Right before that mission, it said it.
Yeah. Well, there was a way, if you chose in the beginning of the campaign that you didn't want to see anything hyper violent, like it would just not play that mission. It would just talk about it.
Got it.
But this one definitely tells you every time you start the campaign, like, hey, there is some shit in here.
Mm-hmm. Just FYI, it is an 18 over here.
Interesting. I don't disbelieve it. I mean,
because I think your mature is our 15, isn't it?
No, it's 17.
It's 17.
Awesome, but a lot
of the combat's based in
here.
London. And it's a pretty real depiction of just London.
Yeah, I walked into Piccadilly Circus like, I recognize this.
Yeah. So Tom's flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were police sirens everywhere. I was right back home.
Zach, you made an interesting point about, there are kids playing this, and I've put a ton of time into the online. And growing up, or in the past 10 years playing Call of Duty, there was always that joke of like, all right, let's go play with the 13-year-olds and have jokes made about our moms.
Yep.
I'm not coming across kids. And Scott and Derek and I were talking about this last night. It's like, because all the fucking kids are playing Fortnite.
Yeah, that's okay. But I don't really honestly want my kids playing this. So if there's another option for them, I'd be good with it.
I think any parent who knowingly allows their kid to play this game, at least play through the campaign, like you're not doing something
paying
right.
attention. Yeah.
I mean, you've always brought up that story, Eric. You've said it several times on the show about when you've been working at GameStop and things like that, and you have warned parents about Grand Theft Auto, and I've always been really proud of you for that, because most people wouldn't fucking care. They'd just go, oh, well, they're clearly buying this for the kid. Here you go.
Yeah. No, definitely not. This is something that no kid should be playing. I don't think kids... I don't think they have the ability to process and understand what is being talked about, like you said, Zach, to start that conversation. For them, they're just going to see it as egregious violence.
Well, and like for me, with my kids, I do not mind them playing super violent stuff as long as I can have a conversation. Like my girls, as young as they are, I have a 7 and 9-year-old that absolutely adore Mortal Kombat. But it's presented in sort of a gory, over-the-top, funny way.
Yeah.
And when they started playing it, it was watching me. And then I stopped to explain, like, hey, this isn't real. None of this stuff can happen. And they kind of just view it as funny. But that speaks to how I want to be involved with their sort of gaming career as a parent. It's not the fault of the game that I let them play that. That's on me. And I feel comfortable because, again, I've had that conversation. But I absolutely agree with you. Like when I hear people talk about, oh yeah, my kid wants a new Call of Duty game, like I'm going to be the one that tells them, like, are you sure? Do you know what's in this?
Yeah.
Were you I hate to say it like this, but were you the Karen that came and complained about, the last one with no Russian and slaughtering people in an airport? Because that's, you cannot take games. It's being an irresponsible parent. If you buy tickets for your kid to see an R-rated movie, you own that.
Yep.
If you buy them an M-rated game, you own that. It's not on the game. Because I tell you what, there's a lot more 40-year-olds and 30-year-olds who have jobs and careers and grew up with games, playing games and buying games, than there are you buying this shit for your kids.
Yep.
And that's why I believe that games should be allowed to cross those lines. That's why I bought Agony. That's why I buy games that sort of push the boundaries, because I'm a grown adult. I should be allowed to play those things, and those things should be available for me. Yep. And in Agony, it didn't work out for me. But, when I look at sort of the responsibility, video games are not babysitters. And I think a lot of people still have it in their head that, oh, they're marketed to my kid. They should be. No, they're not.
No.
Well, I can't speak because I'm, I can't speak too much because I'm not a parent myself. But me and Hazel we have conversations quite often about like people using, YouTube to babysit their kids and stuff. And then they start going off on one because like kids are getting access to videos on YouTube that they shouldn't. And there's people out there who are purposely creating videos that are supposed to be like a Peppa Pig video, but in the middle it'll turn into some guy being murdered, and people just aren't watching. People aren't watching what their kids are doing on YouTube, and then they get mardy when they see things they shouldn't. It's like, well, don't
be a parent.
YouTube's not a fucking babysitter.
It requires your involvement no matter what your kids do, and I don't care if that's going to the playground for 10 minutes. You have to be hyper involved.
Yes.
And I mean, it's funny. My wife and I talk about it all the time. She's like, "Yeah, I'm taking tablets away because Natalie was sitting there watching something on a playlist the other day." And like I turned around and it's something, some dumb political thing, like fuck Trump or Trump's great, or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't really matter. Like my kids don't need to get involved in that.
I don't even have YouTube on the tablets for my kids.
It's the greatest thing about being a kid is you don't have to worry about shit like that.
Yeah, be a kid.
And you shouldn't have to. When you become an adult, then you got to deal with that horse shit all the time.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, I don't think that there shouldn't be games because a kid could potentially play it. You just have to be more vigilant as a parent to keep your kids from playing it or to play it with them and explain it.
Yep.
But back to Call of Duty.
I want to touch on the multiplayer really quick.
Yeah, sure.
I am really enjoying it because they've dialed back so much of the bullshit. It is just, I don't want to say bare bones because it's anything but. It's very in-depth for creating and customizing your loadout. They've made some cool changes to it where the middle of a match, you can actually go in and edit your loadouts. Literally everything about your loadout, you can edit it mid-match if you want to. Before, you used to have to wait until you get out of the match, go back, edit, or leave the lobby because you're not going to have enough time to edit that loadout in the 60 seconds between matches. They've added Ground War, which is 48 players. It's just it's a neat experience to be back into a Call of Duty. Like, I really like this because, like you said, Battlefield was typically billed as your more realistic shooter. Call of Duty was your Twitch shooter. This is a great melding of the two, and that's really apparent within Ground War because they introduce vehicles, which was typically something only reserved for the Battlefield games because Call of Duty didn't have maps that were big enough. Well, now they do. You have helicopters, you have tanks, ATVs, all this other stuff. But what's really cool about this game is how detailed the environments are. Before, Call of Duty's like, all right, that is clearly a guy there. I can see him standing against the wall. The level of detail within these worlds is so high that you can hide in infinitely more places. But what's taking the longest to get used to is as long as you're not on the outskirts of the map, pretty much every door that you come across, you can open. So it just creates all these new pathways through the world. And it's just neat to be relearning maps.
Well, and that's, obviously my new profession, esports are big for me. I can absolutely see the strategy, the technology applied, this becoming the next esports thing. Because I think Fortnite's great. It's got a subset of players that are very dedicated, and that's wonderful. But from a just plain running gun shooter, this hits all the check marks for me.
So much fun.
And it plays super well. The net code's great. I've never died where I went like that's the fault of the system in the game. It's always, oh no, I just suck at this. And I'm trying to get better, but
what's really cool, and this is the last thing I'll say about this before we move on, is the crossplay. So you can either turn that option on or you can turn it off in your settings. So if you just want to play with people on your console, you can disable crossplay and you'll only be paired up with people on your console. You can enable it. And within there is, I'm still trying to figure out the exact settings on it, but when you pop into a lobby, it'll show what console that person is on, a PlayStation logo, or it'll have a PC monitor with a controller. And I haven't seen anybody pop in yet on Xbox. I don't know why. And I believe what I was reading about how it worked, and you can set it so that it's purely open, where you're playing against people on PC, Xbox, PS4, and then any controller configuration. But I think they were saying the default setting is that you're going to be paired with people who are using the same controller style. Because if you're on PlayStation with a controller against somebody on PC with a mouse and keyboard, you're going to get fucking slaughtered. And
I wonder if that extends to people, because you can use PC and use mouse and keyboard on Xbox. So I wonder if it extends to that as well.
I think it does. I haven't delved too much into it, but I hope this is the future of gaming, where you don't have to choose one console because that's what your friends have. And
I think it will. If Call of Duty is now doing it, I think it will. I mean, PlayStation for the longest time wouldn't even let Fortnite do it, and Fortnite kind of forced their hand to create the crossplay on there, and then they took it for Rocket League as well. Like they got it as well. And I think Call of Duty, the huge multiplayer franchise that Call of Duty is, this is the beginning of it just being standard.
Well, and I read a really cool article on Kotaku called Modern Warfare's Online Crossplay Helped Me Get the Gang Back Together. And it's really poignant because when I was in college, I had a group of friends that I played games with, and if I were to contact them all now, chances are half of them would have Xbox, half would have PC or PS4, and maybe some people within there would have a PC sprinkled in, but to not have to say, okay, guys, let's all choose one console to get, we can now just play. It's great.
The interesting wrinkle with that, though, when I said that, this could be, this is the beginning of the future of crossplay just being standard, I wonder how that mixes with something like Stadia, because obviously Stadia, they have got all their own servers at their server sites, and then obviously all of their multiplayer and everything like that, it'll just be their servers talking to each other and then obviously going to your computer. The interesting thing there is how are they going to work with, crossplay with the other consoles?
It's Google, so I think they'll have to get in line. Honestly, Google doesn't have a stake and they don't care. And even like with Call of Duty, it comes with the caveat that you're really signing into an Activision account to play Call of Duty online.
True.
Oh, so man. I think that'll continue.
The last thing, I said this before, but since you're signing into an Activision account, you can change your display name at any given time. So you're not stuck to just your PSN name, which is, it's so cool to be able to do. So I'm running around as motherfucking Hank Fist.
I was going to say, is it Hank Fist?
It's Hank Fist.
Yeah.
Most American
all
man.
All good things so far. I probably need to pour another 100 hours into it.
They got rid of the prestige mode in online too.
Yeah. Or I haven't found it yet.
No, they got rid of it. It's not in there.
Mode. Interesting.
Yeah. Derek was telling me.
Have they kept any kind of Battle Royale mode in? Because I know they had Blackout, didn't they, last year? And that was the big thing because it was essentially
Scott and I were talking
Battle
about
Royale.
this last night, and it's got to be in the works because Battle Royale was huge in Black Ops. It was Black Ops 3, right?
4?
Black Ops 4?
4. Yeah,
anyway,
Black Ops 4, yeah.
Yeah,
anyway, the Blackout mode, yeah.
It was huge in that, but that's what almost everybody played. So I think our theory on it is that they're going to be releasing that at a later date because they really want to show off what they've done with the current multiplayer and the campaign mode instead of getting people, I'm just going to buy it for the Battle Royale mode.
Interesting.
But I'm really enjoying it. Anyone who's even kind of on the fence about it, if you've loved Call of Duties in the past, you will absolutely love this. The multiplayer is so incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Would it be a good entry point for someone like me who's never really played them, or would you say play the old ones first?
No, I would say 100% jump in on this one. And honestly,
I mean, I'm not going to anytime soon. I've got far too much to play.
Sure.
Yeah, and honestly, I know that I give the impression that I play a lot of games online like an asshole, but like, dude, fucking playing Call of Duty with friends online is so much fun. Because you can get into a group and you can talk and you can strategize. And when you have the ability to do that, even if it's just 3 of you on a team of 12, it increases the chances of success because you at least have a small squad of people talking to each other. And getting into vehicles together and going out and planning attacks and just having a fucking blast is so much fun.
Yeah, I don't believe that you don't play like an asshole.
Oh, no, I was a complete asshole in one instance because I had to. Just because I had to, and I wanted to see if it was possible. I was running towards a helicopter. I wanted to fly it. I didn't make it to the pilot seat, and there was one spot left on the side, so I waited till we got up to the top, pulled the pin on a grenade, and just fucking held it. That'll teach you to not let me fly. Took down 6 squad members. That's the only.
Yeah, and this everyone is why I don't play multiplayer games with Eric.
That is the only asshole thing I have done on that game to date.
Yeah,
so far.
I'll prop up the praise and say that it's really good. It's a little hard for me to get used to because for the last couple of weeks I've been playing Destiny 2 since Shadowkeep launched, and it just plays totally differently, but in good ways. So I think that give it a little bit for learning curve, and I certainly need to put more hours into it, but it's excellent.
Guys, we are 2.5 hours into this. Should we get to the game of the week?
Do we have to?
Hey, Mario! So I have been torturing Eric with that.
Every fucking time I fall for it. Every time.
Who knew Luigi's Hummer would be that divisive?
And the only reason I fall for it is because we will regularly post little stupid audio clips or stupid videos in our WhatsApp chat. And Mike just slides one in. And just when you think he's done, you click on the last one, and there it is. Who picked this game? Was this you, Mike?
Me.
All right.
Me, yeah. We were meant to play it for the last show, but then because Luigi's mentioned 3 release date got released, I said, why don't we do it closer to Halloween?
Yeah, and we were supposed to play it a week ago for the show, but we had to push it because Tom was trying to become a citizen and Dan didn't play the game.
And
I had shit going on too, so we're like, you know what, let's just push it.
Yeah,
push it
real good.
We gave Zach an extra week to finish it, and
hashtag I didn't.
What? How? So for some context, we played Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube.
The GameCube.
For the GameCube. Although I ended up playing both versions, not all the way through, but I played both versions.
Yeah.
So 2001, it was released for the Nintendo GameCube. It was a launch title for it.
What a launch title.
Yeah. Interesting, because it meant that the GameCube was the only Nintendo console that hasn't released with a quote-unquote Mario game.
And this was the first game that Luigi had in his own, like, he was the starring role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. I've always kind of had like an affinity for like the sidekicks. So I always kind of like Luigi. I dislike how over the years he's now got this fucking ridiculous floaty jump that doesn't help.
All that came from Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah. I know
we don't want to recode this game, so that's just Luigi now.
Yeah, so it makes him annoying to play as, because I used to, on the older Mario games, like if you could like put something into play as Luigi rather than Mario, I just liked having him as. Plus, green's my favorite color anyway. So.
Yeah, me too.
I played this entire game with green and purple lights on in my game room. It was
very nice.
I had to make it aesthetically pleasing because I didn't enjoy the controls of the game.
Oh God, we will get into
that. Yeah, honestly, I remember I bought a GameCube at launch, and I bought Luigi's Mansion and played it for exactly 5 minutes before it went back, and I got the Rogue Squadron for the Star Wars game. And I was very happy that I did at the time. I kind of wish I'd given Luigi more of a chance, because it's not a bad game.
It sounds like the time that when I got my N64 and a copy of Super Mario 64, I returned it to get Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey.
Yeah, except for I still submit that the Star Wars game is just a better game than Luigi's Mansion. But I think I wanted it to be more of a traditional Mario game, and it is not.
No, this is putting
this is a weird one.
Yeah, putting it at its most basic form. This is like Nintendo doing a Ghostbusters game without the Ghostbusters license.
Yeah, and it's got sort of elements of elevator action, because you are controlling rooms at a time, as opposed to going through like a stock level. You really have to clear rooms in a mansion to say that you have progressed to the point that you no longer have to worry about the control of the rooms of the mansion.
Mike, give us the 30,000-foot view of what the hell this game is.
So it's it's kind of an adventure game in a way, but the whole thing around it is that Luigi has this vacuum cleaner. So to kind of give the story,
Luigi's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, Luigi's a fucking idiot. He wins a mansion in a contest that he never even entered. So the beginning of the game sees him wandering towards this mansion with a map.
No wonder you're not player one.
Yeah. And he goes in there, and it's haunted. He starts getting attacked by ghosts, and you're introduced to the character Professor E. Gadd.
Get it, Dan?
Get it?
And he sucks up these ghosts with this, like, what is essentially a vacuum cleaner on his back, which is the Poltergust 3000. And he trains Luigi into... But basically, the mansion appeared there, and Professor E. Gadd has been doing research on the ghosts and everything. And he says, I'm getting a bit old for this. So he teaches Luigi how to use the Poltergust and sends you on your way, because Luigi is also looking for Mario, who disappeared towards the mansion, which enables you to press A to Mario.
Mario!
Yeah.
Mario! So... like Zach said, kind of elevator action kind of thing. The mansion has all of its separate rooms that you're in, and you essentially go through them. It's kind of separated up into 4 stages. So more and more of the mansion gets unlocked as you go on, as you defeat each boss and get extra keys and stuff like that. In the DS version, the keys to progress to the next stage were they were based on the card, spade, heart, club, diamond. That wasn't so obvious in the GameCube one.
Yeah, they were color coded.
Yeah. No, in the DS one, they were the suits, card suits.
What is obvious is that all the people that own this house and put the locks on the doors were assholes because there's a key for every fucking door in the house.
Except the one door that I wanted to have fucking open that never opened throughout the entire game, which made
the shortcut door.
The shortcut door to get to like you just can't open it.
Yeah.
You had to go through.
I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. You can unlock that door anyway.
How?
I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's in the butler's room.
Mm-hmm.
There's a secret mouse hole there to go through to the next room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you get it from there.
I cleared every room. Every map, or every room on my map was fully cleared.
Oh, interesting.
Because
I definitely unlocked it, but I don't remember how.
I went through
I've
every
seen
room.
videos where people have unlocked it, but I never figured out how.
Jesus, that was annoying.
Yeah. And it's mostly annoying because every time you go to unlock a door that you don't have a key to, you get the full bore Luigi animation of him shaking the doorknob like an asshole, and he goes, wah, wah, wah.
But you can skip that.
Yeah, you can skip it.
Yeah, but it still starts.
Yeah.
It's still there. I can feel it in my soul.
Yeah.
So, in terms of gameplay, Luigi's wandering around. It's not your normal Mario controls at all. Luigi doesn't jump. He doesn't run.
He does this I just shit my pants shuffle. And if you look close enough, when he walks, his nose bounces up and down.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But in terms of controls, when you're faced with a ghost, he has a torch. You have to be able to shine the torch onto the ghost. The ghost will pause, it'll freeze, with a little counter, and basically you suck them up using the R button. And at that point, you get it's almost like a sort of a mini game mechanic, isn't it? Where you have to pull away from where the ghost is going. And it's sort of a bit like fishing, where you have to keep knocking it back, back and forth, and you'll get it. Obviously, when there's multiple ghosts, you have to be careful to not get hit by the other ones. But the health was always kind of plenty in this anyway. And as you go through, there's these portrait ghosts that you're wanting to capture to put back into the portraits, and then you ultimately have some bosses as well, and the grand scheme of it is going through the entire mansion, clearing it of ghosts, and hopefully rescuing Mario.
And getting those boss portraits and putting them into the portrificationizer, so EGAD can have a stupid collection of ghost photos.
Can we also talk about that fucking Michael Crichton must have written that entire section about the ghostalizer, because every time you clear a level, you have to hear how the ghostalizer works. And it's like Michael Crichton talking about how fucking frog DNA makes dinosaurs in Jurassic Park for 17 chapters. Like, I don't care. You're putting a ghost into a picture. I can make a leap of faith there.
Just tell me it fucking works and I'll believe you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need the 13, 14 minutes worth of watching a ghost become a painting. I'm good. Yeah. Also, there's a gallery you can go into for no reason.
Yeah, to look at them all. It was fully kind of realized on the DS version.
Perfect. Love it.
Not a particularly challenging game. The only time that I died was several times on the last boss. But other than that, not a particularly challenging game. The biggest struggle you will have with this game, and we said we'd get onto this, is the controls.
Oh, God. It wouldn't be bad if they gave you the option to invert or to not invert the C-stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a freaking mess.
Well, because the weird thing is... Sorry, is that going?
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's tank controls. So when you consider that you're always moving forward when you're faced that way, it is literally impossible to turn Luigi around in a full circle without taking your thumb off the C-stick.
Which is frustrating because the C-stick is not, like, left-right is not inverted for half of his view, but when you're facing the other way, it's inverted. So like you said, you can't fully spin. Like, if you've got a ghost and suddenly he goes to the other side of you have to stop and physically wire your brain like, I gotta do this way now. And it's just not intuitive.
Yeah. Well, there's two different control modes you can do on this, and they both have their pros and cons. So the standard controls, control type A, the left stick, the grey stick, if you're not using the vacuum, he will move in a full 360 degrees, like however you need him to. You know, if you press back on it, he will instantly switch around. It's the moment you pull the vacuum out that that then switches to the C stick, where he rotates basically in place, doesn't he? You could not move the grey. You could stand there without touching the grey stick and turn the C stick, and he will just kind of rotate in place. And this is what Eric was talking about. You always have to kind of be wary of which way you're turning in terms of which way he's facing. If you need him to go to the right of the screen, but to the right of the screen is more left for Luigi, you're thinking, right, I need to rotate him to the left.
Mm-hmm.
But the other control scheme that Eric said you tried, but you said you didn't really see a difference. There's the sidestep one, so that when just using the grey stick without the vacuum, he will always face the same direction, similar to when you're using the vacuum cleaner, which does have its advantages in some areas, because it means that if you're facing a ghost, you can kind of move around without turning away from him, so you can kind of get the torch on him easier. Now, this is where the DS version is fantastic, because the DS version, you can change these kind of on the fly. So you can have control type A, so you have the full 360 on the left stick. But if you hold down the B button, he will change to the sidestep, which is so fucking useful, because you just then hold it down and you switch them on the fly. And honestly, made this game so much more playable.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have played it on the DS.
Again, my gripes with the game are all about controls, because I think from an aesthetic perspective, this game is gorgeous for a GameCube game. So much so that it does work against it. Because I think in a lot of cases, like, I'm supposed to do something in the environment, but it's all so well rendered. It doesn't have that, like, hey, this thing is shiny, go touch it or go look at it. It's different. I just kind of had to figure it out. Like the candles, for example, all look amazing, but they kind of blend in the environment so well. I didn't always know that was the focus of what I was supposed to be doing in the room. Mm-hmm. But definitely did not help that I started playing on a Wavebird, that I realized that it just had a busy channel for whatever reason. And about half the time my stick would drop out in the middle of play.
I had to switch.
So on top of it.
Yeah. I had to stop using my Wavebird halfway through as well and used a wired controller.
Yeah. And it did make it better. But Mike, you didn't talk about the one mechanic that makes this game frustrating, which is every time a ghost pops up, which is literally every fucking room, every goddamn time, despite seeing thousands of ghosts, Luigi stops and goes, and shits himself and stops walking, which means that if you're in a room with more than two ghosts, chances are you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Through no fault of your own.
Yeah. But like I said, the health is always kind of a plenty. I mean, he has hit points. He has 100 hit points. It's not typical Mario where, you only get one hit and then apparently, what happened there?
Whoa.
Well,
we were all flashing.
Yeah. I saw that. You do have actual hit points on it, and they are very generous with the health. Like I said, I only died on the last boss. But yeah, considering he doesn't ever. I know he's a coward. I know that's him. That's his character, which is interesting. Apart from the cartoon, which was based on the Mario 3 game, is this the first instance of Luigi's character actually being a coward? Was this the first time they built him as that? Because I can't think of any time before this.
What was the cartoon in the 80s? It was Captain Power or Captain N or whatever it was.
Oh,
he
yeah.
would, guest star on that one, and he was always kind of a sally ass. But yeah, I think this might have been the first instance where, for whatever reason, just Luigi shits the bed at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Until, for some reason, in Mario Kart 8, he becomes just a raging asshole.
Yes, that's true.
Did you end up playing Mario Rabbids in the end, Eric?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, they use Luigi's death stare from Mario Kart as an actual move in it.
Do they? I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, back to Luigi's Mansion. So they also end up adding elementals later on, but they didn't. I don't feel like they implemented that as much as they probably could.
Yeah, it was a little too late in the game. So what I really like about this is that each of the rooms is like a mini level. You walk in, the room is dark, and you have to figure out what to do. A lot of the rooms are just, okay, defeat all the ghosts that are in here. Some of them have a little bit of a puzzle. Other ones have what's considered to be a mini boss ghost, where you can walk in, you can see that ghost. It could be a lady sitting at a mirror putting makeup on, and you have to figure out a way to get her heart to appear so you can capture her. For instance, hers was, you have to open the window to cause a draft, so she stands up to walk over to it, which then shows her heart. Or there's somebody who is taking a shower, and in order to get that person to freak out, you have to get the ice element to make the ice or to make the water cold. And then that makes her heart appear. Those are the much more difficult boss battles that require a little bit of thought, and they typically have 100 hit points to try to pull down, and do take a little bit more time. But once you clear a room and it's cleared, then the lights come on, and that's kind of your indication of, okay, I've done pretty much everything I can do in this room, with the exception of the boos. So there's 50 boos.
50 boos.
And they are hidden throughout the world in each room. And I think what's really cool about the mini map is that they give you a little Game Boy Color that's been renamed the Game Boy Horror. And all of the menu options and map are done through this. When you open it up, it pulls this little Game Boy Color up onto your screen. But
do you know what you'll love on the DS version, Eric? The top screen, when you use the Game Boy Horror, the top screen is obviously what you're using. The bottom screen just actually looks like the bottom of a Game Boy, like with the B and the A and the D-pad. And the actual D-pad and the B and A buttons are actually functional.
What do they do?
The touch screen. You use it to interact with the map, so you can just use the normal controls of the DS, or you can obviously use the touchscreen ones like the working D-pad and B and A.
Oh, that's really cool. Neat. So on the top of this Game Boy Horror, there's a little light, and it's typically turquoise. But if you walk into a room and it turns yellow, it means there's a boo in there, and you just kind of have to navigate closer to where it is. And when you get really close, it'll turn red and start blinking. You interact with whatever that is. Either a decoy will pop out, and then you have to go find the actual boo, or the boo will pop out, and then you'll have to capture it. But they are...
And they all have pun names, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, but...
I'll see if I can find a list.
The boos will escape from you, and they'll pop through the wall into an adjacent room. And I got to tell you, I am super pleased that they didn't go between floors. So if they went up to the second floor, down to the first, I probably wouldn't have collected all 50 of them, because traipsing from the first floor to the second is a nightmare.
Well, yeah, and early on in the game, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get the boos, because sometimes they go behind locked doors.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to come back later and pick them up, and that was just kind of frustrating. I think I had 48 by the time I was done.
So I got all 50, and I feel like a little bit of this was cheap, because one boss battle gives you 15 boos.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to get a minimum of 40, don't you, to finish the game?
Yeah, and I was at 17 or 18 when I got to that boss battle, and it's like, all right, here's your next 15. Well, that wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Well, I was getting concerned, because I knew that this was quite a short game, and before that boss battle, I was like, I'm missing a lot of boos still. Am I missing something? And then did that boss battle. I was like, oh, no, we're good.
Yeah.
So I got a list of their names. So there's things like Bamboo, Bootha, Game Boo Advance, Taboo, Boolicious, Kung Boo, Peekaboo, Boomio, Mr. Boojangles.
I like Mr. Boojangles.
I love Mr. Boojangles. Was awesome.
Booigi, Little Boo Peep. Just all ridiculous things like Boutique, Bold. I can't even say this one. Boulderdash. Boomerang.
Yeah, one of my challenges with the game, though, is Mike mentioned it before, was that the way that the what the hell is it called? The Poltergeist 3000 or the Poltergeist 4000, whatever, the vacuum cleaner.
Poltergeist.
Yeah. Was that the rule set is supposed to be when you expose a boo's heart, you suck it up and you have to pull back on the C stick or the yellow stick in the opposite direction, which on a GameCube anyway works about 30% of the time because it's got an octagonal gate to it, which means that you can't always pull directly back. Sometimes it slides to the side. But my real challenge with it is that only works on certain ghosts. There are some ghosts, like the boos, for example, you just have to suck up and stay focused and aimed at. And they don't ever really tell you that. You just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. And then there are some ghosts that react to fire. There's some ghosts that react to water. There's some ghosts that react to ice. And there's never really mention of that. You just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. Well, that sounds, okay, well, that's just gameplay design and teaching how to play the game until you get in a room that's got 15 different types of ghosts, which does happen about 2/3 of the way through the game when the lights go off.
Yeah.
And that is just, and then on top of, hey, there's 15 ghosts in the room and they all have different rule sets. There's also 15 ghosts popped up. So every time they pop up and disappear, Luigi shits himself.
Or you get
just stand still.
Yeah, you get the Shy Guy ghosts where you got to suck their mask off. And then if you don't then immediately capture them, they'll disappear, come back with a new mask. But in the meantime, you're trying to fight off the damn orange ones who are giving you a bear hug.
Yeah. Or the blue ones who are doing the alley-oop swing away.
Yeah.
And there's too much variety for the controls to be as bad as they are.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned the Shy Guy ghosts, Eric. This is, I always try and pull up some interesting facts about games. Like this is the only game, literally, where the Shy Guy's masks have ever been off and you've seen what's underneath.
Which is never done it nothing. It's just the red the red cape with two eyes on it. That's it.
Yeah.
This is going off on a bit of a tangent, but you mentioned the octagonal gate on the controller of the GameCube. Have you got? I think I shared this with Eric on WhatsApp, so he's definitely seen it. But have you seen, Zach? Have you seen that? I can't remember who's making it, but someone's made some GameCube style Joy-Cons that you can buy online.
I did.
So one side is basically either side of the GameCube controller. But if you look at it, I don't know if anyone's actually bought these yet, because if you look at it, it's got the octagonal gate on the controller, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
As in, the flat bit is at the top rather than a corner is at the top.
Sir, from gamers everywhere who have been using analog sticks from the last 15 years, fuck you. Fuck you for doing that. It's an analog stick. It should be able to swing in full circle. Yeah, I did. I saw I was at Best Buy the other day and they had the packs of GameCube controllers. I guess they're ostensibly for Smash, but it's like a 4-pack of GameCube controllers that they're selling. They're just wireless. And I was interested in that, but I didn't look at the analog stick. But yeah, that gate sucks. I never really noticed it until I played this. But again, because you have some ghosts that have the mechanism that you're supposed to pull away, sometimes that ghost moves in a direction where you literally, because it hits the flat part, it just slides into one of the corners of the octagon. So it's just not conducive to that style of play.
It's interesting that they kept, because the N64 analog stick is very much like that as well. It's not quite the same shape, but isn't it? It's more of a square, isn't it?
It's a square gate, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting
that they kept that is literally the first analog stick out there, so I can forgive it.
Yeah. Just an interesting choice to keep something similar when they went to. Yeah. I mean, the GameCube controller is fucking mental anyway, but
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. But I mean, it is. So when I started playing with a wired controller, it was super comfortable, all until I had to play Luigi's Mansion with it, and then I was damming it every moment. Also, one of the gameplay mechanics that Mike mentioned that we should talk about is the elements. So you have the ability to suck up these 3 elemental types of, I guess they're birds or little ghost owls or whatever. But when you do that, it gives you the ability to use, is it the left trigger?
Yeah.
It's not, because GameCube only has one bumper. It's the left trigger to use that element for a finite amount of time, which is unlike the vacuum, because you could just walk around with the vacuum out all the time and it'd be fine. Mm-hmm. The challenge with that is when you go to do it, there's a delay from when you hit the button. He has to switch over to fire mode, and you have some ghosts that you really have to freeze to set on fire or use the water element on to get them to expose their heart or to get them to be able to be sucked up. And that delay, if you've got 4 or 5 ghosts on screen, is just really frustrating, because again, Luigi shits himself every time a ghost shows up. Sometimes you have to turn around directly at the ghost and just hit him with a light, and that's how you suck him up. Sometimes you have to use fire, and that delay between Luigi shitting himself and then, I have to switch over to fire mode, now I have to suck him up, is just, it took the fun out of the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real shame.
Yeah. I'm really hoping it's fixed in Wii U. Because or Haunted Mansion 3, whatever they're going to call it. I call
Luigi's
it Luigi,
Mansion
sorry.
3.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is.
I think they went with
Luigi 3.
I hope that's fixed, and then it just controls like Mario did in Mario Odyssey.
Maybe.
Because I think that would have made that game a whole lot of fun for me. If I just had full ring control and I treated it, because it's not like the map rotates in Luigi's Mansion. There's really no reason that it was tank controls other than they didn't know how to do it any other way.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, because the main reason I put this on the list for this year is I knew I had one of the October games, so I wanted to get something sort of spooky and Halloweeny anyway.
Sure.
But the main reason I actually chose this is because I randomly picked up, when Eric bought me that 2DS, I randomly picked up Dark Moon, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved that. Like, really, really fantastic game. It sticks around for a bit too long. Gets a bit, because one of the things with Luigi's Mansion is it is a very short game. It's at least twice the length of the first one, Dark Moon. But unfortunately, they don't add more in as it goes on to keep it from getting samey. But other than that, I loved it. I thought it was really, really great. And I wanted to see where the franchise kind of began, which is why I wanted to play the first one. And wanted to see kind of how the controls changed and everything like that. And I completely forgot this until Eric said that he randomly tested Dark Moon the other day. But Dark Moon randomly doesn't support either the little nubbin on the 2DS, 3DS XL, or the Circle Pad Pro. So like it's
awesome.
only a one stick game anyway. So it actually uses, and believe it or not, it actually quite works. It uses the X and the B button. They're the right way around on the Nintendo. Yeah, X and the B button to aim your Hoover up and down rather than like the stick. So like me going back to this one to kind of see where the controls came from didn't really kind of work anyway.
Yeah. And it was interesting because it was a couple months back, there's a big sort of arcade bowling alley around the corner from me. And they had one of the sit-down 2 players, Luigi's Haunted Mansion, the arcade game. That thing is a lot of fun, but it's a game on rails where you literally, like, there's a button to hit the ghost of the vacuum cleaner and then one stick that you pull back from. Mm-hmm. It's a totally different experience, but the aesthetic is really the same. So I went into this thinking like, oh, it's going to be this on rails thing because I didn't remember playing it when I was a kid. And yeah, it's different. And again, I think with some modern controls, I really would have enjoyed it more. I did not finish it. I got all the way up to the second where the part where I think the last boss that I faced was Uncle Fiddly. And I got up to the roof and I went down the chimney on the right side to the secret room. And that room was there was no health between that boss, the Cuckoo Clock boss, and then the Shy Guys, and then getting into that room where I opened a chest and I got 4 different types of booze. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do all that. But I think I'm like 2 rooms away from the end of the game. And I was like, I get the point. I get the impression.
Yeah. Zach, you're not even close. It's not Uncle Fiddly.
What the hell was his name?
It's Uncle Grimly.
Yeah, whatever. He fiddled with you.
So
I like Uncle Fiddly. He's molester Uncle Fiddly.
I didn't
That's who he
realize this, that some of the portrait ghosts are optional.
Yeah.
I got them all.
Because like you didn't have to do the twins, right? I think they were optional, and then
Henry and Orville.
Biff Atlas was optional. He was a bitch because you had to hit him with the punching bag, and I would always miss, and it would swing back and hit me.
Yep.
Who else?
I think Nana was optional too, wasn't she?
I don't know. I'm looking.
The one with the knitting wool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Nana was required. So the optional ones were, let's see here, Mr. Lugs.
Let's see.
Biff Atlas, Slim Bankshot, and then Sue P and Jarvis.
Okay.
How about the dead baby?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a dead baby.
There is definitely a dead baby who is the area boss of the first world, or of the first area.
That's pretty brave of Nintendo.
You
to make
fight
that kind
a
of
giant dead baby called the Spoiled Baby. So
you suck up a dead baby with a vacuum.
It kind of works on 2 levels. I mean, he's spoiled because he'll let a shit, but he's also spoiled because he's gone bad and died.
Originally, because he's Chauncey, isn't it, the baby?
Yeah,
apparently during development, the nursery was originally called the Child's Room, and Chauncey was missing. Instead, the room was filled with ghosts. A stuffed rabbit and 2 teddy bears were to the far right on a shelf, and the different style crib and mat were further away from the wall. After beating the room, coins and a normal key would appear out of a treasure chest. It's unlikely it would have been for the Area 2 door, but possibly not.
We talked about the fact that you
have maybe I didn't unlock that
$14 million by the middle of the game.
Yeah, what's up with the money?
Yeah, the money didn't make any sense.
I mean,
so the more money you make throughout the game, you get a higher rank at the end.
But why is it millions? Like, I got to the end of the first area, I have $12 million. Great.
Because then at the end, depending how much money you made, because at the end where he gets given an actual mention, Yeah, depending on your rank, so depending on how much money you made, he gets a bigger and better mansion.
It's just millions.
Couldn't I just use that money to buy something to keep me from getting hit by the fuck I'm tiny mushroom every time?
Oh my god.
Every boss has the chance to drop a purple mushroom, which is a reference back to the real Super Mario 2 or the Lost Levels if you're in the States. And this mushroom makes Luigi tiny. And every time you're tiny, you can't use the vacuum cleaner because reasons. And it's one of the things that it presents the most challenge during a boss fight.
Oh, the other thing we didn't talk about throughout the course of the game is you have to collect 5 artifacts from Mario.
Yeah, why is Mario wandering around this mansion with no hat, 1 shoe, and 1 glove?
And why is he leaving letters?
Mario's a rape victim. King Boo did a bunch of stuff and took a picture of him. Took off half his clothes.
So here's something interesting. Originally, this was going to be an N64 tile, according to Hideki Kono. I pronounced that wrong. Who's the director of it? Apparently, on the disc, there's a sound effect for getting a star from Super Mario 64.
Oh wow!
And apparently, this was supposed to be the first GameCube game to support stereoscopic 3D. If you didn't know, the GameCube circuitry has everything baked in to support stereoscopic 3D, but 3D TVs were not widespread at the time. They were prohibitively expensive, and they never released the necessary add-on component to be able to display stereoscopic 3D. But brilliant. For all intents and purposes, GameCube support 3D, and this was intended to be one of those titles.
That's interesting because the color palette's really limited. That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Apparently, in earlier versions of the game as well, there was a timer on the hood. According to Nintendo Power Magazine, originally Luigi was only going to have 24 hours to save Mario.
Ugh.
So a little bit of a kind of Majora's Mask.
That was a good design choice.
Yeah. But the one thing I can say about this game, I mean, we're making jokes about me torching Eric with the theme tune, but like this series, because obviously I've played both of them now, fucking oodles of charm.
Love it.
One of the things with this, and yeah, we laugh about it, but luckily the theme tune, even though it does get in your head, it's not particularly annoying. But the great thing about it does this in both these games, is when you're in an area that's completely clear, because Luigi hums the theme tune along with it, mm-hmm. And the great thing is like in the clear sections, he's either whistling it or he's like, he's really cheerful humming it. But then in rooms that you haven't cleared yet, when it's dark and there's still ghosts in there, he's shaking and he's still doing the theme tune, but he's kind of like all like
he's trying to cheer himself up.
Yeah, and I love it. It's so good. Like when I first started playing the second one, like it was immediately the thing I latched on. Like it's such a just nice little concept they did there.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the boss battles?
For the most part, they were fun. They were all kind of unique.
Fuck the last boss battle.
Wouldn't know.
So essentially you fight against King Boo, who has assumed the form of Bowser, Giant Bowser. And you have to run around on the roof of the mansion, avoiding the fire that he spews out. Then he will throw out these spiked balls. And it took me a little bit to realize that you don't have to catch the spike ball as it's moving. The first couple times, like, I could only catch it as it was moving. And Christy was watching me play. And she's like, that seems really bad that you have to catch this thing as it's moving. I just wasn't getting close enough to it. So you have to...
Well, to give some context to this, sorry to interrupt, Eric, to give some concept on this, Zach, as well, like, it goes into this weird sort of isometric view. And obviously you can't rotate the camera. And it is so fucking frustrating.
Yeah,
like to even be able to pick these balls up in the first place because of the way that the angle of the view is just awful. Sorry, Eric.
Well, even on the Big Boo fight, the one with the unicorn boss where you have to pop him, like that was the challenge for me. It was height to freeze the boos when they were sort of the mini boos, because if you were off on the angle at which you were spewing ice, like it just would not freeze them despite it looking like you were hitting them. So I can only imagine.
Well, once you capture one of these balls, then you have to shoot it at Bowser, which then his head pops off and Boo flies out, and then you have to capture him, but he has 500 hit points.
Ugh.
So then you can only capture him for a certain amount of time. Then he'll fly back in, get in, move on to the next phase. Do that a few times. And then when I think he's down below 200 or something, he starts doing this bull rush where he'll charge at you. And if you get hit, it basically wipes out all your health. And if you've taken any damage up to that point, you're just going to die. So if you want to regenerate health, there are these pillars that you have to get him to run through while simultaneously not getting hit, and a single solitary heart will drop that you have to collect while also avoiding spews of lava fire, and just rinse and repeat that. It's an extremely frustrating boss fight.
Ooh, with tank controls, I bet that makes it even more fun.
Well, so this is where I'm glad I played this part on the DS, because like I said, I started on GameCube and I could not imagine trying to beat this boss with the GameCube controls. So kudos to you, Eric, because the GameCube, the 3DS version, not only can you switch the sidestep and the normal rotation on the fly holding the B button, this also applies to when you are using the vacuum. So when you're in the vacuum, it automatically goes into like the sidestep, but then if you hold B, it'll go into the other rotation. So that really fucking helps because you can just rotate around whilst vacuuming. But the other side of that is the up and down, because obviously you've got the little nubbin stick on the 2DS. The up and down on that, it still doesn't feel that great, but it uses the 3DS's motion controls. So for the up and down, which I know you go, motion controls, no, and this game actually really works. So like as you're aiming the vacuum, you literally just tilt your DS ever so slightly and he'll move the vacuum up and down. And this came in so handy. I barely used it throughout most of the campaign, but on this last boss, it was like it helped me beat this boss, being able to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, it was just...
Well, I'm hoping when we get to the Switch release of Part 3, I think there's a lot of opportunity to do stuff with different camera angles, to make the controls a little less, I'm going to call them fiddly.
Well, I was listening to Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny. He's had a preview version of the game, and he says that it still uses, you can still use the motion control for the up and down on the vacuum. And he said it actually really works in that.
Oh, well, that's good. Hey, it can't be worse than the lair.
Yeah.
And I got all the way through that shit.
Good for you. Any other little tidbits on this, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I've got quite a few actually. So if you try and confront King Boo before capturing enough boos and everything like that, there's a Star Wars reference. He says, "I will not give up my favorite decoration. I like Mario just where he is," which is obviously a callback to Jabba and Han Solo. You mentioned about the 3D sound. There's that Tatanka's theme. Is it Tatanka? A theme hidden somewhere in the game as well.
Don't know what you're talking about.
But I can't remember where that is. And I've kind of
Did you guys ever use the mirror trick?
Yes.
I didn't learn about that till the last area.
Yeah, so if you point your Game Boy Horror camera at a mirror, it starts to flip the image of the mirror around and it warps you back to the save area.
I found this out by accident.
Yeah, so did I.
So actually, that's a good thing that we didn't... It's a good thing you brought that up because we didn't mention that. When you go into the room with those mini portrait ghosts, you have to take your Game Boy Horror, point it at that person, press A, and it gives you a little blurb about it, or an insight as to how to capture that ghost.
Yeah, some sort of vague, vacuous hint.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is good.
One of my favorite portrait ghosts had to be I can't remember her name. I've lost my list of ghosts. The one in the music room. So to activate her, she's sat at the piano, but to activate her harp, there's all these other instruments in the room. So there's obviously like a cello, I think there's a harp, and there's like drums and everything like that. And you have to activate each one of them, and it's all basically the Super Mario theme tune.
Yeah.
But you're just adding all the instruments bit by bit, and then she starts playing along with it. I think that was one of my favorites.
I'm not going to lie to you. That one stumped me for a half an hour. And
really?
It wasn't because I didn't get the concept of turning on the instruments. It was I wasn't treating the drums as three different instruments. I thought I had turned on the drums because I turned on the middle one.
Oh.
And then I figured you have to touch all three. Okay, that makes sense.
So I found something interesting here. There was supposedly some changes that were made towards the end of development. If you look at the original trailer that they showed for this at the first E3 of 2000, the Poltergust had an exhaust meter, which means it could overheat and then blow up and cost some life.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the original map that's included on the Game Boy Horror didn't have the feature to find the right room to fit the key that you just got, which was extremely
that was
helpful.
a saving grace.
Yeah.
The fact that every time you pick up a key, it shows you exactly where you need to use it.
And it was initially planned to just be one gigantic area instead of 4.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that they broke it up because the mansion itself, despite only having 3 floors, is actually pretty big. So, I appreciate not having to go check every single door just to see if my key works on it or not. Especially because that.
Apparently, the world record for beating this game is 9 minutes and 43 seconds.
Jeez.
Wow.
Using glitches and stuff like that.
So apparently,
I think I skied through all the way up to the part where I ended up quitting in probably 3 hours.
it's not long.
I surfed through the whole first part of the game, and then I just, like I said, I got to that part, and I was like, I'm not going to replay this.
There's some dummied out ending files that show different graphics that kind of give an indication that maybe there was going to be some sort of ending game results. One of them was depressed Luigi holding a flower, or smiling with a peace sign, or smiling with both peace signs, which obviously didn't get included, but
I'm trying to find... I found something earlier. Hang on, let me see if I can find it.
Well, wait a minute here. I'm reading something. There were going to be ghost enemies that would jump scare Luigi, briefly disabling him and crippling his health to 50. Woof. The concept was taken and nerfed for the sneakers in Dark Moon. A 2-player mode was going to be programmed in, but due to technical limitations, it was scrapped. I'm kind of excited for the multiplayer mode of Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, well, the one of the big changes from on the DS version is that there's actually multiplayer mode on that. So at the very beginning of it on the DS, Professor Egad from the future for some reason calls you up and gives you Luigi.
Oh, nice.
Who's in Luigi's Mansion 3, and you can actually play it multiplayer.
Huh.
Oh, dear God. Also, I have to point out that Professor Egad is a liar because he says, I am too old to do this ghost catching shit. And I looked in the gallery when I started. He hadn't caught shit.
Yeah.
Well, no. Okay, so that's the thing. It says in the instruction book from Egad, I collected famous ghosts from all over the world and turned them into paintings, but those darn boos went and turned them all back into ghosts again. You've got to catch those ghosts so I can turn them back into paintings. So he originally caught them, and now he's like, I'm too fucking old to keep doing this.
Yeah, and you have a potato for a head, so I guess we should listen to you.
So I've just found this on Gaming Myths. Basically, during... after when the lights go out, during the blackout, after the boss battle in Area 3, Luigi goes into a telephone room and answers a couple of calls. During these calls, while Luigi's holding the phone to his ear, wait until there is a lightning flash, and you'll find that Luigi's shadow has been distorted in such a way it looks like he's been hanged. Some speculate that this shadow is evidence of a much darker game than what was released. Taking into consideration that the beta footage showed a lot of spooky elements that were removed in the final release, it's entirely possible this was one of these things that was left in from the beta version. Other people think it's could just be a lighting glitch. But yeah, I'm looking at the image now. It does actually look like it's been hanged.
There was apparently a safari... Can you see? I want to see that picture.
It's been drowned for Luigi's Mansion.
There is also an infamous safari ghost that wanted to kill Luigi and keep his head as a mount. He was supposedly cut for being too scary. There's no proof... There's no proof such a character was ever in development. It's sourced from a caption in Nintendo Power. However, the misleading quote came out after the game was already out in Japan. So I wonder what that caption says.
I did play the Japanese version a little bit. I really did not notice any differences between the two.
Oh,
yeah, here's that image.
Yeah, I see it.
It loads anyway.
Jesus.
Not so kid-friendly anymore, is it?
No, not so much. Let's see.
But I think you have to put aside all talk of this being kid-friendly because you got to figure out that this game is really about just Luigi being fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And being taken advantage of throughout this whole game.
Hey, kids, don't fall for a scam. Someone says you want a mansion, you clearly didn't.
This is the king of Nigeria saying he wants to deposit $50,000 in your checking account right here, kids.
Life lessons learned the hard way. So.
Oh God, Eric, you'll like this. I haven't got time to read it because it's fucking huge. But there's a there's a Luigi is dead theory.
Oh,
for it, yeah.
Is this his purgatory?
Maybe, I don't know. It's quite long. I ain't got a chance to read through. I wish I'd seen this before the show. I'll send you the link anyway for you to peruse at your
my leisure,
your convenience. Yeah.
I think that was somebody who just played through the controls of the original GameCube game, and it was wishful thinking.
But no, to kind of sum this up a bit, I would definitely recommend this game.
I would too.
I just would not recommend it on the GameCube. If you've got access to it on a 2 or 3DS, play it on there.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, for a GameCube launch title, it was amazing looking. I think this was one of the first real games to use transparency effects because the ghosts look absolutely positively like ghosts. They're awesome looking.
Yeah, I would argue
very atmospheric.
I would argue, because I played this on both, I would argue that it actually looks better on GameCube still, graphically, than on the DS. For sure.
Fair enough. But I had a good time with the first half of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I will definitely be picking up part 3.
It was something that has always been in my gaming backlog that I've never touched and I've always been curious about. So I'm happy I went through it. I got to the end of it and went, well, that was fun. Glad I played it. It was good.
I was a little disturbed by the fact that every time Luigi gets a key, he shoves it directly in his butthole. And it was a very, there's no other explanation for it. There's no key ring back there. Luigi is shoving things in his butthole.
Oh, dear. Anything else we want to mention?
Fucking oodles of charm. I have not played a game this charming, and apart from obviously the second one as well. But yeah, I'd recommend the second one as well. I say it hangs around a bit too long, but I've got Luigi's Mansion 3 pre-ordered.
I really hope Luigi's Mansion 3 doesn't crest into the 15-hour range.
No, this needs to be a short get in there, get out type of experience.
I think it will, fun. And I think it won't be a problem as long as they can keep switching up the gameplay. Yeah. Which, looking at the trailers and stuff that I've seen, they're adding things to it. It's going to be able to slam the ghosts, and there's a plunger mechanic that you use to open secret walls and safes and things like that. So hopefully they can mix it up. But from what I can tell from the previews, because it's like a haunted hotel you're in, and each floor apparently, so as you progress through the game, you go through different stages, and which is the different floors, and they're all different themes. So you're going to get completely different themes on each floor. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's just, we're at that point of the year where you look at stuff and you go, fuck, I really want to play that, but I've got all of this other stuff. Because Luigi's Mansion comes out, and then we've got next month Death Stranding. We've got Pokemon. We've got Star Wars
Jedi. Pre-ordered as well.
Yeah, we've got Star Wars Jedi.
Outer Worlds. Yeah.
We've got, and then December is not, there's really nothing major in December. No, I don't see anything that is worth it for me. But
give you time to enjoy Resident Evil 4.
Year, we're right back to it again.
Yeah, but then looking at what we have on the docket for next year, we've got some long games coming up.
I can't even remember what we've got at the beginning of the year.
Well,
I know obviously we've got dot hack infection.
Yeah, Santos requested we played the first dot hack, but we've timed that so that we've given ourselves all of December to play it, and then it's our first show of the year. So we have a month to play it, which shouldn't be too bad. It's only 18 hours. It'll be.
I thought it was longer than that.
It'll be a better 18 hours than Project Eden. Fuck, I went 2 hours into that game and wanted to kill myself.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Oh, yeah, we have got some long games.
They are some doozies. I'm not going to spoil anything else because it might change, but I'm still trying to veto one that Mike wants to put on there.
Is it Goof Troop? It's Goof Troop, isn't it?
No, it's...
No, but it does start with a G, funnily enough.
You think real hard. When we were in Missouri, I popped this on in the PlayStation Classic. I'm like, Mike wants to play this next year. And I played about a minute and a half of it and went, fuck, and immediately went into the planner and went, I'm overruling this.
Yep. I recall that conversation.
Yeah.
I would.
I don't want to spend 12 hours in that game because it'll probably be 25 hours due to frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
So rounding out the rest of our... Oh, go ahead.
Just play Hot Shots Golf for the rest of the year.
Fuck yeah. I love that. I popped open the Vita version of that game again. Love it. And the PS2 version, what is it? Something OpenT2 or something? Dude, they're so good. They are so much fun. Such wonderful portable games.
You can't talk about it for more than 20 minutes, but God, those are fun games.
No.
Yeah.
So coming up, next show, November 3rd? Yeah, November 3rd. Super Mario Galaxy.
Whoop, whoop.
Followed by Square
I thought
Simulator.
You were about to go into Duel of Fates. Is it Duel of Fates from Star Wars?
Yeah, exactly. Dude, Super Mario Galaxy, and this is my very divisive opinion, but Super Mario Galaxy might actually be my favorite Mario. Even beating out Odyssey. And Super Mario Galaxy 2 even more.
I would agree.
Yeah. Those games are amazing.
Yeah, they really are.
So then we've got...
I kind of wish they would just release those together on Switch as like a all-in-one game.
I'd pay.
You could play them back to back.
I'd pay for that. After that, we've got Square Simulator, Arkham Asylum, Metroid Prime, and then not Resident Evil 4.
Have you gotten your chainsaw controller yet?
No, I couldn't find it. So,
God damn it, Eric. Don't make me go buy you one, because I'm going to hold you to playing through that whole game with one.
Well, okay, so...
It's going to happen.
I've been trying to decide what version of that I want to play, and I got to... Actually, no, I have a Wii copy. I popped it in just to see. It's like, you know what? I want to have plenty of time to plan out what I want to play this on. And everyone's like, the Wii controls are great. And I popped in and went, no, they're not. So went out and I was going to buy a GameCube version of it for $15, and then saw that it was on PlayStation 4 for $8 on sale. 20 minutes after I buy it, Mike goes, "Hey Eric, have you bought Resident Evil 4 on PS4 yet?" Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, it's on Game Pass right now." God damn it.
Honestly, if I'd realized beforehand, I would have told you. I was browsing Game Pass and I saw it on there. I was like, I'm sure Eric said he's just bought that.
I know.
So I will tell you, if you play it on GameCube game, it is a better looking game.
It is, but it doesn't have the Project Ada on it.
No, it does not. But it is a better looking, better playing game on GameCube. And that is me absolutely hating the GameCube controllers and still saying that. The Wii version was just finicky because it had the Wii motion. It has all the hangups of using a Wii controller with it. So you're going to run out of batteries 30 times at the wrong time. Got to set up the sensor bar and all that shit. But the GameCube version is the best version. And I just happen to know that there's a chainsaw controller version for that version, which you will be playing for that show if it kills me.
You know how much those controllers are?
Yeah, and I'm still willing to buy one just to make you play it.
$200. I remember when I was working at GameStop, we had a stock of those for like $60.
Yup.
Just sitting there doing dick all.
Yeah, because nobody bought one. I think they all went into a great big bin somewhere. But yeah, I got to find you one because that will add another level of misery that I am prepared to pay for.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm not buying that damn controller for that much.
You made me play Mario on a joystick. I'm making you play that on a chainsaw controller.
Yeah. So let's do some listener questions here. We have a couple. We have a couple emails. If you want to send us an email, factorysealed@manatank.com or podcast@factory-sealed.com. First one comes from James Hall. He writes,
James Hall.
"Hey guys, I'm in the middle of my listen through the entire show, and I heard a question asked before the current hosts were on that I thought they might have an interesting answer to. What games did you play that seemed innocent enough at first or through your first playthrough that you eventually realized were much darker?"
Ooh. Animal Crossing.
Because that is a terrifying representation of life.
Yeah,
you will forever be in debt.
There's I won't go into it, but there is a whole Reddit thread about why that's horrifying. You absolutely owe it to yourself to go read it. Animal Crossing is terrifying.
I would say something like Pokemon, because it starts off as a little adventure and you don't even think about it. You're like, oh, I'm catching these animals. And then you start thinking about it. I'm fucking catching animals, imprisoning them in balls, and then forcing them to fight.
Yeah, it's Cockfight the game.
And then as the game progresses, obviously you find out more about Team Rocket, who then also use them for evil deeds and things like that. And then as you progress and get like the mansion and find out about all the experimentation they did to create Mewtwo, game's fucking dark, man.
I can't really think of any off the top of my head. I'd have to put some thought into that one.
Or not necessarily the further you get through it, but if you read the instruction manual of the original Super Mario Brothers, that shit's dark because it says in there that Bowser has turned all of its residents into blocks. And what are you destroying as you go through that game?
Jesus.
Motherfucking blocks.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is incredibly dark. It's got a rape scene in it, for Christ's sakes.
Oh, man, that game.
Oh, yeah. We won't give any more context to that.
That game. It's been a topic of conversation.
Sorry, Zach.
It's been a topic of conversation in our WhatsApp chat because Mike took a statement out of context.
I did not.
You're just being a turd.
We can't open that can of worms, Eric. I'm sorry.
We can't. Maybe at a later date. So he continues.
Maybe another time.
James continues. I also have a game suggestion for you guys. I was originally going to recommend an N64 game called Sin and Punishment. It's created by Treasure. Later in the N64's life, it never left Japan. However, the game is entirely in English. It was released on the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console as an import, and that's how I played it. The story and dialogue is atrocious, but the gameplay is spot on. It's one of the few games I've played through multiple times.
Funny, like another game we were just talking about, Eric.
What?
Gameplay being spot on while the rest of this...
Leave it at that. And go back to this day every now and then. I wouldn't expect you guys to play that one through, as the game is harder to come by now since the Virtual Console shut down. Instead, may I suggest its sequel on the Wii. I believe it's pretty much easy to come by and had a worldwide release. It's not as good or corny as the original, but I still enjoy it. Would love to get you guys' opinion on it. Don't be afraid to rip it a new one if you do play it. Keep up the amazing work. Look forward to more shows. He didn't give us the name of the sequel.
The Wii U Virtual Console is still up.
Yeah, but who buys anything?
He said it's on Wii and Wii U. Yeah, I've literally bought one thing on it, which is Super Mario Galaxy 2 when it first came out on Wii U. Interesting. But yeah, I'm always open for game suggestions. We'll have a look at some point. Depending on how long it is as well.
Let's see. We have one more email. Dalton Sutor says, "Hey, fellas, listening to episode 107, and Eric was talking about the No Man's Sky launch and how it wasn't good. I thought it would spark a good discussion about how far that game has come and has become the fantastic experience people were looking for, but also how situations like that kind of show how a company pushing developers to release a game that they don't quite have ready yet has become more common these days with day one patches and such. Do you think this trend will continue, and do you think it is companies' greed that causes this?"
Well, I'm going to say WWE 2K20.
Holy shit, look up those glitches. They are hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, that is a prime example of clearly they've got a contract with WWE and WWE want a yearly game and they've just clearly fucked that up.
I have not laughed that hard in a long time when I saw that first character creator where this lady's eye is just hanging down past her chin. She has sunglasses on and somebody just put a caption of, do these sunglasses hide my lazy eye?
But yeah, it's right up there with like Assassin's Creed Unity, right? Where like half the time you'd interact with a character like without a patch in that game, like it's just eyes and teeth.
Oh God.
But yeah, like Eric says, do yourself a favor, check out all the fucking mess that is WWE 2K20. Oh Jesus Christ! There's like some footage I've seen of like one of the wrestlers is just like in the ring, just spinning round and round and round the referee.
Or the referee's crawling through people. Just fucking crazy stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So apparently, so what it is, because Ukes were the developer of that for a while alongside Visual Concepts, and Ukes now aren't part of it. So Visual Concepts have done it all by themselves, but apparently they're using Ukes' engine, which they don't really understand. So they've just fucked up the entire thing.
Good.
Excellent. Wonderful plan, guys.
Yeah.
Also, you should paint with turd more often.
I think to answer Dalton's question, though, I think this is, I don't want to say it's going to become the standard, but I think it's going to become more prevalent, especially since we as an industry have sort of just accepted that when you pop a game in, there's going to be a day one patch. Installing Modern Warfare took well over 2 hours. Not only did you have to install the game, then you had to download a 60 gig patch and then install that patch.
Yeah, but was your 60 gig patch to make it pro enhanced? Don't forget about that.
I mean, maybe, but I think everybody that had PlayStation 4 version got a 60 gig patch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that some of the details that came out about the PS5 is that this isn't patches. Admittedly, this is just installation, but apparently every single game will have some sort of installation.
Which I'm fine with as long as they give me the ability to put an 8 terabyte hard drive in there.
Yeah.
Because Call of Duty, 175 gigs if you were to download it.
Yep.
Eesh. And then the patch as well.
That's damn near half your hard drive.
There's a joke in the game. Have you come across that yet? Mm-mm. About there being, in one of the London flats, there's an Activision console. It's called like the ActiBox.
Yep.
And it's an 80 gig console. And the joke is like, oh yeah, your fucking game wouldn't even fit on that.
No.
And it's so ridiculous.
That's
that
funny.
You know, install sizes have come. I mean, I get it. We're getting 4K graphics and all that, but yeah, it's become a little monstrous. Which is, I get the appeal of game streaming in that environment.
So I think No Man's Sky was kind of an outlier in this phenomenon because I don't remember the developer's name, but I think he was a victim of his own success, where he had this really novel concept and he sort of took the Peter Molyneux approach. And I get it. He was trying to upsell his game and he had this vision of what he wanted. And then people picked up on it and he started getting all of this attention I just don't think he was ready for. And he was excited about it. And he really wanted to sell his game. So he kept talking and saying, this is what this is going to be. And we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And not realizing like, okay, fuck, we really can't do that. But I think with larger companies, yeah, they're under a very strict publishing deadline. Hey, we want you to have this game out for this holiday season because if you miss that window, we have to push it another year and we'll be damned if we're going to support you guys for another year to do that. So push this shit out, broken or not.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
Well, and I think he said, it's not Sean Layden, is it? What the hell is that guy's name? I don't remember.
It's not Sean Layden.
I think he needs like, and he probably has learned this lesson. He needs like a Gantt chart of what's actually going in my game versus what would be cool to go in game, and then never talk about what's in the middle.
Yeah. Sean Murray, that was his name.
Sean Murray, yeah. But yeah, you notice that a lot of publishers go dark. And by that, I mean, they just don't communicate about what's in the game. They may show a trailer, they may show something else, but then they really let people's imagination run wild. And maybe that's the right move, maybe it's not. Here's what's not the right move. To talk about what could be cool in your video game and present it as factual.
It's like they went to the writer's table
conclusions
and
anyway.
Let's just give them all the notes from our writer's table. It's like, no, that's not the right thing to do.
Don't do that.
The thing is that people will still jump to conclusions anyway. Look at fucking Puddlegate with Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. But that's on people.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. And you get to say that as a developer, like some of these things that you said is shit you just made up, and that's okay. You know, and if a publication makes some shit up, that's just par for the course. When you say it, when it comes out of your mouth, like there's going to be multiplayer and you're going to be able to see your friends and there's going to be this and that, and it doesn't materialize in your game, like, yeah, that's on you.
Yeah. You know who's...
And I'm going to say it like this. I think No Man's Sky is 1,000% better right now than it was when it launched.
Oh, that game's phenomenal now.
I don't know if I'd call it a phenomenal game. I'd call it a phenomenal experience.
With VR.
Because it's not... Yes, with VR. It's a phenomenal experience.
Yeah. But
it's still not a game that I like actively pursue.
No.
Phenomenal games are ones that I pick up
Sure.
all the time. It's fine.
For what it does, it's great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know who's really good at maintaining the hype around their game, though? At least with the Elder Scrolls series, is Todd Howard and the team at Bethesda. They don't sit. Yeah. They could really
just don't mention Fallout 76.
Yeah. They could really start spewing about here's all this shit that's going to be in here, but they don't, and it's great.
What was the one we were all watching together? It was, I don't think it was Gamescom, but it was one of those. But it was just the Bethesda team getting out in front of people saying, "Hey guys, remember, we're people too. We make mistakes."
And he was taking
treat us like people.
He was taking the piss out of himself.
Yeah, like you absolutely needed to do that because you made a lot of promises with games that you couldn't live up to. But you know what? He won't do it again.
No.
It's not like Peter Molyneux who's going to go out and spin the same shit lie about the next 40 games because that's just his style. And you as a consumer have to get used to that and be able to just reconcile between what did Peter Molyneux say versus what am I going to get? It's probably going to be 30%.
Hashtag you were promised.
If you fall for it more than twice, it's on you.
Yeah. Mike,
the thing is with patches and stuff like that, the problem is patch has become like a dirty word. Patches aren't always necessarily a bad thing. No Man's Sky is a perfect example of that. And, you can look at it in the negative light of, okay, people are releasing broken games and then relying on the patch afterwards. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty shitty practice in some ways. But people, again, they are people. They're not perfect. If a game comes out and then there is just an error that, just might have been overlooked by accident, the fact that we live in an age where that can now be fixed, like you should be grateful for as well, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'd rather live in this era than what we grew up with, because if a game came out broken, well, that's just how it is forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Baldur's Gate 2, Dark Alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always use Skyward Sword as an example. They found out that there was that glitch where you couldn't, if a NPC wouldn't do the right dialogue if you did something in a certain order for you to progress in the game. They just released a small download. That the game would have been broken forever.
Well, it's
not a great game anyway, but
yeah, I talked about this with the GBA version of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. That's absolutely something that would have been patched, but I'm stuck with it, and I have to, next time I play it, I have to be very conscientious of who I talk to in a very specific order.
What's this glitch then? The short version.
Yeah, the short version is you get to a point in the game where you have to clear an area of enemies before you talk to anyone, and there's some enemies hidden in some really remote spots that if you don't kill them before you talk to the next person, it locks off the next portion of the quest. You just physically can't complete it. Even if you go back and kill that boss or kill that enemy and go back to talk, it just will not finish it. And it's like 4 hours into the game.
Eesh.
And I hit it. So, and I even knew about it getting to it. They're like, make sure you kill everyone before you talk to the next person. And I thought for sure I had, but I didn't.
So, womp womp.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not uncommon. Donkey Kong Country 3 could, you could break the cart. Turok 2 had to be replaced at retail because when Rage Wars came out, that was a thing, that there were game-breaking bugs in it. So I agree. Being in the world of patches is glorious. It just comes with a caveat that sometimes you're going to get not everything you expect up front.
But, delving down that rabbit hole, and I know, Mike, you've talked about this to some extent, is that what do we do 15 years from now when you buy a used copy of this game and the servers supporting that patch are offline? Yeah. Or when a day one patch actually isn't a patch, it's the rest of the fucking game.
Was it Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 where the patch was bigger than the actual game itself?
And that game was still a pile of hot shit.
Yeah.
Mike, do we have any Facebook questions?
We do. Got several. Monty Glover, I'm not going to read yours out because it was aimed towards Dan and he's not here. So if you want to ask him that again next time he's on, be my guest. Dalton Suter, this is a bit of a loaded question, so I don't know if you want to tackle this now. Top 3 or 5 RPG series of all time in each of your opinions. And then also in regards to Luigi's Mansion, he put, is this worth going back to? I'd only be able to emulate it, but with the third coming out, should I play the first 2 before 3, or do the stories follow for any order? I'll answer that bit first while you guys think about your RPGs, because I'm not the RPG guy. After playing 1 and 2, the stories don't necessarily follow from each other. It's typical Mario stuff where you can kind of jump into any one. But these are great. These are fun games, so I'd say jump in anyway. And we don't know what Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be like yet, but I'd definitely recommend it.
To answer his question for the RPGs, I'm going to put Final Fantasy at the top. I would probably slide in The Legend of Heroes, and then Dragon Quest.
I'm going to go Phantasy Star, Final Fantasy, and Ys.
Yeah, I knew Ys was going to be on your list.
And I've only really played Final Fantasy games, so I won't answer that question. Taylor Favor, would your rating of this game change if the C-stick controls weren't inverted? I can't stand it, but I still love the game.
Yes. Yes, that is how horrible that control is.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
I would. James Hall, anyone playing on the 3DS, do you know, do all of you know any of the differences between the two? I did have a quick look at this because I saw your question. Main things is there's like an achievement system in there. Like you can get this trophy inside the gallery by doing all the different tasks around, like things like making sure you burn a door and capture X amount of ghosts and things like that. There is amiibo support. Apparently the Boo amiibo shows you the location of the Boos if you lose them.
Oh, nice.
Obviously the controls I mentioned before. The training area looks completely different, but generally in terms of the core game, it's pretty much the same. And then some questions from our main Facebook page that I had to get a screenshot of the other day because it was incorrect. So, Dalton Suter again, he says, do you think Luigi sits or stands? What angle would his arm be for his straddle pose? I have so many questions.
Oh my God.
Luigi shits on his own face.
He squats. Yeah, he is a squatter through and through.
Whole time going, Mario.
And I've just realized the other questions aren't really questions. So yeah, there we go.
Cool.
Thank you very much as always.
Keep an eye on it. We are at facebook.com/group/Factory Seal podcast. I think that's what it is. I always forget if it says community at the end of it or not. Nope, just Factory Seal podcast.
If you just go into the communities and search for Factory Seal podcast, you'll find us.
One other little housekeeping issue. Again, I think we're going to wait to crown our Straddling winner till next show when everybody else is back on. I know we said we were going to do it this show, but I'd rather have as many entries as we can and as many people on here to help judge as possible.
Yeah. And everyone needs to up their game because we had an amazing entry today.
We've had our first video entry.
Yeah. And it's a doozy.
It definitely is. We've entered a new realm. And it's quite impressive.
It's a new era. I would consider that you always ask for like video resumes to appear on the show. Yeah. I would quantify that as an audition. That is a piece of art.
I was saying this before, but I half expected the camera to turn and there to be a bunch of students to the side, which would have just instantly pushed it over the top.
Ooh, man, I had goosebumps.
It was good. You'll need to pop on and see on our Straddling post.
It's brilliant. We'll talk about it more next week. We won't ruin the surprise yet.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody can literally top that, though.
We'll see.
Hey,
we'll see.
There's lots of national monuments out there, damn it. Somebody give it the old Pepsi try.
The hell's the Pepsi try? Try to be good?
Yeah, exactly. Huh. You remember Crystal Pepsi? They had to try one.
They should have tried more.
I don't know if it's different in the US, but I personally prefer Pepsi.
It's okay to be wrong.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Mike. I live in Atlanta where you can get arrested for saying that Coke products are inferior to the Pepsis.
This episode was made possible by all of our wonderful Patreon supporters, with an extra special thank you to Zach Foley, Santos Lopez, Sarah Irvine, Miles Prower, Taylor Favor, Thomas McGrew, Samuel Chun, Phil Gartside, Shannon McIntosh, James Hall, Richard Cuttress, Chad Schaefer, Jordan Lawfrey, Stephanie, Nicholas Bradley, and Jeremy Lucas.